Ida for telling my husband his fragile masculinity is costing us money. Back in late 2021, my husband Craig, M46, and I, F44, welcomed our fourth child into the world. As a result, we needed to upgrade one of our cars to something larger. We decided to trade in my super reliable Toyota RAV4 for something bigger since I was the one who drove the kids around most often. I was open and ready to embrace minivan life and was planning to buy something reliable and safe, like a Honda or Kia. But Craig had his heart set on an SUV. In his mind, minivans were too feminine. So, against my better judgment, we ended up purchasing a used 2018 Mercedes GLS 450, mainly due to his insistence. He argued that this car would offer similar space to the Kia/Honda minivans I wanted but with added luxury. Since it was priced like a loaded Honda van, we went ahead with it. After 2 years, I can safely say we made the wrong choice. While the car does have good passenger space, it doesn't seem to have as much cargo room as those minivans. The reliability has been junk. The car has had 8 recalls during our ownership. Even when not recalled, it spends too much time at the dealership because something always seems to be broken. Some repairs have been covered under warranty, but we've still shelled out over $9,000, maintenance not included. The car hasn't even racked up that many miles. Below are just some of the annoyances. The shifting can be rough. Sometimes, I press on the gas and the car barely moves, and when it does, it's jerky. The shifting can be rough. Sometimes, I press on the gas and the car barely moves, and when it does, it's jerky. For the past few weeks, the check engine light has been turning on randomly. Numerous electronic issues. Since the car's problems have stepped up in the past few weeks, I'm beyond fed up. I don't feel safe driving it around with my kids, and I've even started getting nightmares about it stranding us in the middle of nowhere. Craig always downplays this and claims that it's normal for the car to have some issues. Making things worse somehow, Craig's sedan has started developing issues lately. It has begun to refuse to start some mornings and will sometimes shut itself off when it comes to a stop sign or red light. On Saturday, I was supposed to drive our eldest to a soccer game and then take my younger kids to the doctor's office. When I turned on the Mercedes, it sounded very rough, the engine light was on, and the temperature reading was extremely wrong. I don't bother risking it and end up Ubering with the kids. I told Craig about it that night. He listened at first, but when I suggested selling it, he cut me off and said that he wasn't getting a van just because I wanted that. It was so combative and defensive the way he said it, and because I was so tired from the day, I lashed out. We argued, it got heated, and I ended up saying your fragile masculinity is costing our family so much money. In retrospect, maybe my tone was harsh, but he was being needlessly difficult. We haven't really spoken much since then. I'll also be Ubering to work this week since I won't be touching that car. Ida? Edit, for those wondering about the car's condition, I've included the picture I took of it on Saturday when I started it up. The engine light is on and it was saying the temperature was minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit when it was really something like 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Context, for those wondering, this isn't the first instance of his masculinity being threatened by something minor. He also refuses lip balm and purple dress shirts among other things. Ada because I stopped talking to my obese friend due to her behavior and constant body shaming. My friend, 24F, and I, F24, have been friends since kindergarten. She doesn't have many friends, and I might be her closest one. I've never met her friends, if she has any, and when we socialize, it's usually with my friends. She rarely talks about anyone, not even her classmates or colleagues, and if she does, it's usually to complain about them. The issue is that my friends don't really like her. It's because she lacks some common knowledge but acts otherwise. For instance, she asked my boyfriend, who works in finance, if they have some kind of security. She asked another friend, who works in IT, if she works with computers and then talked about buying a pink phone just because it was pink. If it were just a few instances, it would tolerate that, but it happens every time she speaks. She's overweight and claims she never drinks or smokes because she cares about her healed hand. She could not imagine drinking like us. We usually go for drinks once a month. So, I've decided not to bring her along with my friends anymore. Another issue is her lifestyle. While I'm not a fitness guru, I do work out and have an active lifestyle. My friends and I go to festivals, sightsee, and hike, which she finds impossible due to her inability to walk long distances. We found about that out when she complained about not doing things together and feeling excluded. So we took her on a trip to a nearby castle involving a short walk, 20 minutes, and stairs. She got tired after walk that took us 1 hour and didn't participate on stairs part. I'm a recreational swimmer, and after she found out, she suggested we swim together. She persuaded me to go and told me that I should prepare because she is fat swimmer. However, she lied, did twice less laps. I do not swim extra fast, and wanted to leave after just 20 minutes. She also shames me for being skinny. I'm muscular but have enough body fat for an average woman. She claims I can eat whatever I want and fit into everything. When I mention watching what I eat due to my slow metabolism, she accuses me of lying because she saw me eat a whole steak and vegetables. Once, she even told my brother, who works out regularly and eats a lot, that he's too skinny. What she doesn't realize is that she often sends me pictures of her eating cakes and trying random snacks just once, then claims she barely eats anything and usually eats only in the evening after fasting all day. The final straw for me was that she never wishes me anything good. When I got a great job with a nice salary, her response was why she is not getting even more. When I found money on the street, she said I'm always lucky and she is not. When a dog approached me instead of her, she said she likes dogs more than me. All I hear from her are complaints, and I'm honestly losing my sanity, so I stopped talking to her after she interrupted me for the 10th time in 1 week. She uses phrases like I needed to relax or I deserve more time off, but I don't know what stresses her out so much that she needs to reward herself every day. I mean, she is very sensitive and I cannot tell her anything negative because she starts apologize for her behavior and tells me she does not like confrontations. I'm unable to help her with healthy lifestyle tips or anything else. She asks for help, I give advice, and then she does the opposite and complains about the consequences. It feels like I'm talking to a wall. After cutting her off, she accused me of being fatphobic and a bad friend for not supporting her during her toughest times in life. She even told her father, who complained to my parents. Yes, we both come from a small village. My mother advised me to talk to her because she does not have much friends and it would make peace with his father. So am I the if I cut her off? She is unstable, has no friends probably, very lonely, and I am unsure what she would do to herself after we will not in contact. TLDR, my ex-friend requires to keep our friendship going even though I am burned out because of her constant jealousy and comments on my body. Ida for showing up to my boyfriend's hangout and embarrassing him because he lied to me. TW, small mention of Ed. Throwaway because my boyfriend is chronically on Reddit, but I will try to include as much detail as possible. I, F19, and my boyfriend, M19, have been together for 2 years. I'm sorry for how this is written. I am new to Reddit and I feel like there is so much to unpack. I am completely aware of how toxic this man is, but I am struggling to leave. I just need help understanding if in this situation I was in the wrong. For some backstory, my boyfriend, we'll call him Max, was my best friend for 3 years prior to our relationship. He was always caring and so much fun to be around. He seemed like the ideal man. Around 3 months of us dating, he started to chip away at me. If I tried to communicate that I was sad or hurt, he'd tell me I'm dumb and dramatic, then proceed to ignore me for 3 to 5 days until it was in his best interest to speak to me again. I set a boundary before we started dating that I did not want to have sex until marriage. Personal preference, absolutely no judgment towards anyone else's choices. And he has never stopped begging to have intimacy, but I have not given in. I asked to spend more time with him because when we do hang out, he is on his phone or sleeping the whole time, and his reply was, I see you once a week already, you are so needy. Note, he does not have a job, he lives off his aunt's money, plays video games all day, and I pay for majority of everything we do. I have found texts with other women on his phone, not explicitly cheating but still flirty, like when am I gonna get to kiss your forehead while I say goodbye as you walk into your house. He also told me I was overweight, so I stopped eating for 5 months until I was hospitalized. Then I was too skinny, so he wanted me to start going to the gym. Anyways, along with many more awful things this man has put me through, the cherry on top was the other night where I think I finally lost it. Me and Max and his friends planned to hang out. When I texted Max asking what they decided we were going to do, he said they were trying to figure it out because the original place had a really long wait time and he'd let me know so I could meet up with him. Half an hour goes by and I'm texting and calling waiting for a response still. 2 hours later he says that him and his boys decided to do something but figured I wouldn't be interested, so he didn't reply. I was hurt and angry, but I brushed it off. He went out to eat after, so I asked him if I could meet him there so I'd at least get some time with him, and he told me he was just leaving. I FaceTimed my best friend, extremely upset, explaining the whole situation, and when telling her the part of him going home, she received a Snapchat of him still out to eat, one of those snaps you reply to everyone with, and she tells me about it. At this point I'm seeing red, and with the hype of my best friend I decide I'm pulling up to that place to confront him. When I arrive I can see him through the windows and I called him. I watched him look at his phone, show his friends, then put it face down. They begin to walk out and I get out of my car and say, Max, get your ass in my car right now, and this look of horror came over him. He gets in my car and just starts calling me crazy and can't believe I would embarrass him in front of his friends. He leaves to take his friends home since he drove them, and I go home to all these texts gaslighting me saying that he lied about eating, it wasn't that serious. I said about 8 times, it is not about you eating, it's about lying about where you were, and he ignores me and repetitively says he did nothing wrong. I need to apologize to his friends, and I'm psycho. Finally he breaks me down. I apologize to him and his friends and agree I was crazy. Now fast forward to today, where I received the pit in the stomach hey girly text. I guess the place they went to before going to eat, they invited this girl and her friends. Her text included how flirty he was with her, and a video of them playing around with his hands on her. I am so distraught and my mind feels so cloudy. Max is still getting me short responses and I have no idea what to do. Ida for showing up and embarrassing him in front of his friends. Ida for telling my cell that maybe she shouldn't fuck married men next time. My brother M40 and his ex-wife, F40, got divorced out of the blue. According to his ex-wife, she was always clear that she didn't want kids. I don't know the whole truth because my brother honestly avoids this question. Anyway, we were still all shocked when they got divorced because these two loved each other and were inseparable. Very soon after, my brother introduced his GF to us. His very pregnant GF. Math ain't mathing. Mom confronted my brother, but he said it just happened, so we contacted the ex-wife, and after some prodding she confessed that he has been saying that he wanted children and was having anxiety because they didn't have much time left. This was 3 to 3,5 years ago. He cheated on her. She found out about it and asked for divorce. Anyway, one day after divorce was finalized, he got married to his AP, F29. Now they have 2 children. My brother changed a lot and he wasn't himself anymore. Always brooding and looking miserable. Of course, with 2 children you have other priorities, but he became very asocial and didn't do anything outside of work. According to his new wife, he was not like this when she first met him. He was happy and laid back. Now they fought a lot. Or mostly she would cry and yell at him and try to get a reaction out of him, but he wouldn't give her anything back. Then one day he moved out and filed for divorce and shared custody. This was 2 months ago, when he told us that he was getting a divorce. Now he spends his weeks without the children with his ex-wife at her apartment. I think they have reconciled, or at least they are hooking up. I don't have that much contact with him anymore because I am disgusted, but he was his old self back. Happy and open and full of life. His current wife, pending divorce, sometimes spends time at my mother's with the children, and it is great and all, but she would not stop talking about the ex-wife. This morning I was there, and as usual she started talking about her driving by the ex-wife and seeing my brother's car. She was angry, and I get that, but I was starting to feel sick. I mean, my brother is a total cunt. But honestly, for me she, his current wife, close second on the cunt scale. I was thinking this to myself absently until I was brought back to the conversation when she was yelling that she felt used to produce children so his ex didn't have to. I got agitated because while I don't understand why his ex is seeing him again, she did not use his current wife. So I very sternly and loudly said, well, maybe next time don't fuck married men. She was shocked, then started yelling at me, and I told her that she cannot possibly not have seen that he always loved his ex-wife and to stop lying to herself. She started crying. When she left, my mom started crying too, then I started crying because I think I am the odd two, but the problem is none of what I said wasn't the truth of what happened. I called my brother to yell at him and told him that he should have thought about his children instead of breaking their home. He hung up. Ada for getting upset at my GF for calling someone who has a crush on her. So my girlfriend has recently been talking to this guy who we'll call George. George has become pretty close with her, and now is starting to hit on her and saying he loves her, how much he misses her, and so on. She knows this is making me pretty uncomfortable and is currently doing nothing about it and not listening to my views on it. She is calling George daily, and I'm not sure if I'm the asshole for getting upset at her for this. I don't really know what to do going on forward with this. It's genuinely hurting me as I feel like I'm getting barely any attention back. My boyfriend of 4 years just told me he has no plans of settling down anytime soon. Sorry for the long post. I, F27, have been dating my boyfriend Wes, M31, for the last 4 years. We started dating in 2020 when both of us had just graduated from university. He was charming, kind, funny, and made me feel beautiful and safe. I knew that I had found the love of my life and best friend in him. We often talked about our future, and he asked me what I wanted from a relationship, and I told him that I hoped to get married sometime after I turned 26 and then enjoy 1 to 2 years in my marriage before having kids, but I hope to have or be expecting my first baby before 30. He shared his dreams with me, and we often had discussions about the future, the family and home we hope to build together. Wes was able to find a good job that paid above average in our country, not the USA. He continued staying with his parents and was able to get himself his dream car and spend money on a lot of fun times with me and his friends. I struggled to get a job, and I was only able to find one late last year, which isn't a great job, pay above average, but not great, but I was glad to have something to do. I moved out of my family home into a 1-bedroom house that I love so much, and I am slowly trying to build my life and some savings whilst working to build a business on the side. Wes recently started talking about moving out of his family home, but he wants to move into a big house with great furniture, so it has been putting a lot of pressure on him financially because things are so expensive with our country's economic situation. Last week we were having a chat and it drifted to a conversation about our plans. Wes then told me I do not see myself getting married this year or next year. I don't know if I will be ready the other year either because I am not where I want to be in life. This came as a shock to me, and I reminded him of the conversation we had at the start of the relationship, and he said he has never forgotten what I said. I stepped into the bathroom and cried Abbott because I was really hurt and surprised by his words. This is a man who asked me my plans and went on to date me. Combined, we make good money and would live a comfortable life and can afford a few vacations while being able to save some money, so I am doubting if this is about finances like he claims. I feel hurt and confused about the whole situation. Do I wait for him? What happens if he still feels the same way years from now? I don't want to press the issue further cause it might seem like I am forcing him to do something he doesn't want to do. The thought of dating for another 2+ years without the joy of settling down and motherhood is really
taking a toll on me. What do I do? Reddit. Update. When he asked about my plan, he told me that the timing was good, enough for us to build our lives and get to know each other better. During the 4 years, he would casually mention so and so many years until you're 26, so I believed we're on the same page. I do love my boyfriend, but I hope to build a family only after marriage. There is no guarantee that his mind will change after 2 years, and that's where my concern is. This is a different conversation to have with him, cause it will most likely be seen as me trying to force him to change his mind, which is something I don't want. I want us to each be able to make our own decisions about life right now. Ada for telling my sister to leave me and my family alone. I 28F have a younger sister and who is 27. Liam, 28M has been my best friend since elementary school. The three of us went to the same college and during this time and asked me to hook her and Liam up, so I did, and after and graduated college they were married. I was the maid of honor and did everything for her, so she wasn't insecure in the fact that Liam and I were close. During my time in college I met Noah and got married after I graduated. Him and my sister ended up working at the same company. For 3 years everything was going great. Me and my sister was pregnant at the same time, so our kids are the same age and do everything together. 2 years ago, I wanted to surprise my husband on his birthday. He wanted to just stay home and watch football. I told him I had to work, that way I was able to pick up his favorite things. I got home and seen my sister's car. I went in and found them on the couch cheating on me and Liam. I hurried and took pictures before screaming at them to get out of my house. My sister begged me not to tell Liam, but I already texted him and my husband gave all the cheating excuses. My parents were extremely mad at her but didn't want to cut it off because of their grandson, which was understandable. Me and Liam of course filed for divorce and he was my shoulder to cry on. I guess Noah and Ann got together because they started posting pictures on Instagram. I would have been depressed if it weren't for Liam. And eventually our relationship turned into something more. During this time my ex kept texting me saying how sorry he was and Ann was a mistake and he hates her. I ignored him, and as soon as our divorces was final me and Liam went to the courthouse to get married. I posted the ring on Instagram and my sister showed up immediately to our house, crying. She asked how we can do this to her. I explained if she didn't ruin both our marriages then nobody would be in this predicament. She said sorry and broke down even more and then threw up, so I invited her in and helped clean her off. She couldn't stop saying how much she hates herself and that she hopes me and Liam are happy, but asked if I can get an annulment so she could try to win her family back. I laughed in her face and said this is my family now, and if that is your goal you need to leave us alone. I told her it's time to leave and she did. But she keeps sending me text asking if I can get the annulment. My dad and older brother are on my side, but my mom thinks it was too soon and that I'm rubbing the marriage in my sister's face. You know the answer to this. You're not the asshole. Protect yourself by not giving her any more opportunities to hurt you. Block her. Ida for the resentment I feel towards my husband for calling me lazy. I'm 29F, leaving for the Air Force in August and quit my job recently to prepare. My husband, 30M, works full-time and expects to do absolutely nothing and just relax when he gets home. I clean up around the house, cook his meals from scratch, do laundry, wash, fold, and put all clothes away, and take care of our dog, feeding, walking, etc., while he's at work. All of which are done or nearly done by the time he gets home. Lately he's been saying I'm slacking and getting lazy on him because I asked him to fix his own plate the other night. I cooked and he wasn't ready to eat, so the food sat out for a while and I had packed it away and cleaned the kitchen. Once I came upstairs and got comfortable in bed, he was ready for his food. Then last night I got takeout and he asked me to pick up some cookies from Crumble for him, which I did. While on the phone with him driving home, I asked if he could feed the dog so I can go straight to fixing plates, and he said he was busy watching videos, on my laptop, about graphic designing, although he has a business partner who does designs for him. I was a bit annoyed and said I was just asking for a little help, but never mind, I've got it. As I walked in the door, he was getting the dog bowl to mix the food. I boiled ground turkey for the dog earlier while he was at work to mix with his kibble. He told me he wasn't ready to eat yet, but his food was in the fridge and I told him to let me know when he wants it. He didn't say anything, and warmed his food and ate later. When we were laying in bed that night, he asked me if I'm okay and if being a wife is overwhelming. He questioned if I understood the duties of being a wife and tried to make me understand that he expects to just come home and relax after work. He doesn't mind walking the dog or taking out trash at night because it's dark out, but even those little things I asked are problematic because he's tired and I have the time to do them. After talking to him, he apologized for calling me lazy, but I still feel bad about it because that's clearly how he feels because he said it more than once. I have no problem doing things for him and I genuinely try to keep up with everything and rarely ask him to make his own plate. I can literally count on one hand how many times I have in the 2 years we've been together. I just think it was unfair to say I'm lazy or question my capabilities as a wife because of those small things. I honestly feel a little resentment towards him about it now. Am I overreacting? Am I wrong/lazy for expecting him to do little things from time to time? Ida, because I don't want to use my bill as our donor. Me 26F and my husband 28 meters, have been trying to conceive ever since we got married 4 years ago. It hasn't happened for us and I have worked on changing my diet and lifestyle and just doing everything to maximize my prenatal stage. I just assumed I was infertile due to me having a pretty severe eating disorder since my teenage years. We have now gone to a fertility doctor and gotten the news that my husband cannot have kids. Due to privacy reasons I won't specify, but it's been hard for him. I have suggested that we should adopt in a few years and that it's not something we have to do right away. He is absolutely against that. I am 50-50 about having kids. What I mean is that I would like to have kids, but it's not a deal breaker. I can also see myself being very happy not having kids. My husband absolutely wants to have a biological child and wants us to use his brother's 21 meters sperm. That way it's still related to him. I would rather adopt, and I feel some weird way about going the IVF donor route. I cannot exactly explain why, I just get uncomfortable. Also, this might make me sound like a complete but I cannot stand his brother at all. My husband does not know this, but I find his brother to be so dumb and I cannot stand his personality or his physical looks. Sorry. And not sure if this is relevant, but they are half brothers. They share one bio parent, and his brother doesn't look anything like my husband. They don't even look distantly related, so if we were to use his sperm it might not even look like my husband's kid. And also the thought of sharing a kid with my Bill gives me the ick. My husband has begged me to reconsider, but I really don't want my kid to share DNA with that man. Ada for telling my Indian friend that maybe the hot white guys don't want her? I, 20 meters, am Indian American and have a friend, 20F, who is also Indian American. She is quite good looking, but she complains that she can't get a hot white guy to date her. Her white friends are similar to her in terms of level of looks, but they find it easy to find these athletic white guys to date. The thing is, that she has openly said she refuses to date Indian guys and only wants a white guy. She was complaining to me recently and honestly I've gotten a bit tired of it, so I just told her maybe they don't want you. This caused her to get very upset and call me Now I'm not one of those Indian guys who hates on Indian girls and wants her to only date Indians. But it strikes me as weird that she is just completely not willing to date any other non-white ethnicity. She has no interest in East Asian, Hispanic or black guys, many of whom have shown interest in her. She just wants white. Her friends also called me but honestly I'm just calling it how it is. Ada? Edit, in case of confusion, she outright refuses to date anyone who isn't white. Whether they're black, Asian, etc. Edit 2, no, I'm not jealous or lashing out at her. My GF is Indian and my ex was white. Ada for storming out of Easter and saying my mom's husband can never be around my kids again? My wife and I were supposed to spend Easter with my side of the family this year, so we went to my mom's house a few hours ago for an Easter brunch. My wife and I are in a tight financial spot right now and I had previously asked my mom for a loan. My mom's husband Chris is a prick and has never liked any of us. Basically he likes two things in life, my mom and dollar, and everything else is an annoyance. He makes it clear that he thinks he is above us, and he's always had an attitude like my kids were annoying him just for breathing. He worships her though and she thinks the sun shines out of his ass. My 5-year-old son is a good kid, but a bit impulsive and mischievous. He overheard my wife making a joke about someone should throw a water balloon at Chris, and being 5 and a daredevil, he did it. Obviously that wasn't appropriate, but Chris stormed off without saying a word. When he returned he said in front of my son, who was getting a talking to, that we can have fun being broke, because we can't think we are getting a fucking penny now. To be clear, it was not his money. My mom has a trust fund which is not a marital asset. I asked my mom if she was okay with how he was being, and she said we are disrespectful and of course she can't give us the loan now. It isn't even about the money, but about the fact he would say that in front of my kid over a fucking water balloon. I don't want my son to think it is his fault. I blew up and said I never wanted Chris near my kids again, and she is a shit mom for always putting him first. I took my family and left. My mom sent me a long text about how I overreacted, I'm entitled, of course her husband comes first, etc. NTA, but you need to extend the LC to your mother, as she is enabling him to treat you and your family this way. Just tell your mother, not mom, that she can join that prick in never seeing her grandkids ever again and that she can shove that money where the sun doesn't shine and then block her on everything. Your son isn't mischievous, he is poorly behaved, and your wife's comment started this mess. You don't say things like that to a child who already is a daredevil, especially when you don't know the adult will take it in good fun. Your mother made a decision based on how your wife and son treated someone who is also part of her family. She's choosing a man over her children and grandchildren. You overreacted? She underreacted. That she married someone who treats her kids and grandkids poorly is all you need to know. I 20 meters, broke up with my GF 21F for saying men can't be raped. Me and my GF have been together for past 1.5 years. Today, in morning I was enjoying a walk with my girlfriend, then I bought up a news article I read. It was about a guy 19 meters, getting essayed by 3 women 38, 43, 40F. A police not being able to register a complaint because according to Indian law men can't be SA'd, and they are now also changing the law so even SA on minor boys also won't be in crime. After hearing this she laughed and said men can't be SA'd. If they get hard it's consent. To which I replied, so, by that logic if a woman reaches orgasm it's not rape. She told me it's different and I don't understand, it's also about how women feel about it. I told her then why can't same apply to men? Do you think all men are sex addicts and would go with whatever? She then said she doesn't want to talk about it because I'll never agree with her no matter what she says. I tried to push further and I was a bit disrespectful the way I talked to her. She didn't answer the question asked but rather told me how women are usually trapped in marriage and are always pressured by society. I told her men don't have any better either in this society. We are expected to work and provide and never even show emotions or rarely even appreciate for what we do by our own kids and family because it's just our duty. And let's talk about marriage in case of that men have to share their assets, even those they earned before marriage and even their inherited property, while women's assets are women's and men have to claim to them? If it's 50-50 it should apply to both? Most Western countries have better laws, so don't tell me that. You can't refuse to give money to your wife if they ask for it, it's abuse by law, while women have no obligation to do so. They can claim alienation if we leave, we can't. They can call it abuse if we beat them, if they do it it's a battery and isn't even ground for divorce. They get half of everything if we want out, and even if women are rich we almost get nothing because they are women and were abused in past. Does that mean we have endured that now? Just because someone did in the past. She said, these laws exist so women don't get screwed over by men because it happened in past. I was like, right, it did happen, what happened was bad and should be stopped, but abusing one group of people for comfort of another is not the solution. Equality is needed, not pseudo-equality. If they make laws gender neutral the problem will be solved. She replied with, that's why you've been up until you met me, you hate women. That's why no one dated you. I was stunned, it was a low blow. I told her she should leave me alone as well then. She then stormed off. In evening I texted her I needed time to think about our relationship. I also told her not to contact me for a while. She's been nexting and calling non-stop. I have not answered NGL, I'm enjoying watching her calling me frantically, it's oddly satisfying. She friend on the other hand texted me saying I should say sorry to her for being misogynist and take her back because she didn't do anything wrong for calling me out. And shouldn't throw away 2 years for this stupid argument that's not related to us? I didn't respond to her, Esther, but her friends are really getting on my nerves. My GF is nice person otherwise and I never expected this from her, but yes, her views hurt me deeply, my whole outlook on her changed. So Ada for throwing away my supposedly perfect GF of 2 years? I do think I'm not the here, but I do need your opinion. Ada for getting upset with my girlfriend for not believing me? My 28F girlfriend, 30F, and I have been together for almost 3 years. We've had some rough patches, but in general things are mostly good. One of our most frequent arguments though is her about her drinking. She doesn't drink often, we go out maybe 2 to 3 times a month these days, and she doesn't really drink at home anymore, so I'm unsure it should even matter. However, when she does drink she goes hard, and then we'll start taking other things. It's frustrating, but I try to think of it as fine since it's not a normal thing. She turns into a different person and gets super jealous though. Last night we went to the bar and things were going fine most of the night. Admittedly I got pretty drunk, because it was her turn to be designated driver. She stuck to 2 drinks and I was enjoying how smoothly the night was going. Then one of her drunk friends kissed me while we were dancing. Right in front of her. I didn't kiss her back. I immediately pulled away and said whoa whoa whoa. My girlfriend stormed off and I followed after. She said she couldn't believe I'd do something like that and she felt completely betrayed. But I didn't kiss her friend. She kissed me. I pulled away immediately, and let her know it wasn't okay. Yet somehow it's still my fault? Ada in this situation for leading her on? Simply by dancing with her? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect to get so many responses. It seems like there's a lot of confusion, so I'm adding an edit with more details. I didn't mean to badmouth my girlfriend in the first paragraph to make myself look better. I just wanted to add some context. Usually I'm not the one drinking, but when we went out, I decided to. I added that part to explain that even as the designated driver, she still needs to drink, and had to. I guess with this specific question it is irrelevant though. It was more so to explain that I've dealt with her drinking and substance abuse plenty and haven't given her shit about it the way she does any time I choose to drink. I wasn't slow dancing or sexy dancing with her friend as many of you assumed. We were in a group on the dance floor. My girlfriend was right there when it happened. As were her friends and my friend. It wasn't just me and her friend dancing together. The is the one who leaned in and kissed you. You did the right thing by gawking away from it. Your GF needs to think about that because it is your actions that matter in the relationship and your actions proved your faithfulness to the relationship. I'd give the scenario would have been different on your part had your GF not been there with you, but in this scenario, you did not do wrong. However, a suggestion to maybe not, I assume, slow dance with her friends. Especially while all drinking. Her so-called friend is in the wrong and if I were your GF I would drop that hoe like a hot plate. She is not to be trusted. Ida for coming down on my mother-in-law in this situation? So, I've been with my wife for a total of about 9 years, only married for a year and a half of that. First got a place together 8-ish years ago.
I'm 34 and my wife is 31, if that matters or adds any context. My mother-in-law, for the entire time we've been together, has had no respect for the fact that she is in the home of 2 adults and takes liberties with our things and is generally rude, and it's always been something that's gotten on my nerves. For instance, I came home from work one day at our first apartment when her mother was in town to find my bread in the fridge, my pots and pans in the oven, and my furniture rearranged in my living room. I told my wife I didn't like that and they aren't her things to move and that she needs to tell her not to do that. At this point we'd only been together for a year, so I wasn't super comfortable getting into head-on confrontations with her family. This is something that's happened, in one form or another, for the entire time we've been together. I have never once confronted her about the dozens of rude things she's done in our home, and I've always told my wife when I'm getting irritated enough that I'm about to say something, and that she needs to before I do. She also doesn't like dogs, and I have a deaf and blind healer who, due to being deaf and blind, has mostly memorized routes around our home, and she insists he not be around her and does things like leaving luggage on half of our couch so he can't sit in whatever spot she's decided that she owns while she's here. 2 days ago, her mother is in our living room, having built a barricade around our coffee table and couch to make sure the dog doesn't go where she doesn't want him to go. Never asked, just started erecting defenses. Riggs, dog, jumps up next to me and starts walking in her direction, so she holds a pillow up to his face and tells me to get him off the couch. I told her she's sitting in his spot and that he can't see or hear, admittedly already a little angry from things she's been doing during the trip. She responds with he can have it back when I'm gone, and I came down on her. On Mother's Day, I know, but man, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I said that this is his home more than it's hers, and not to forget that, ultimately, this is my home. I told her that she makes no rules here and I am the one who decides where my dog can and can't go, and she needed to get all the way over the fact that she doesn't like dogs when she's coming to our home, knowing that we have one. She responds with it's just while I'm here, and I said no, it doesn't work like that. You're not temporarily in charge of my home, my things, or my dog, while visiting. There's more, but this is already pretty long and the dog was the main catalyst. My wife is furious and says I made this about my ego and not about her. I feel like 8 years of being disrespected in my home is more than enough patience, and I'm struggling with the idea that I did something here that warrants the amount of rage that's being directed at me. Was hoping the objective opinions of strangers might straighten me out a bit. Edit. Just wanted to genuinely thank all y'all for commenting. Things haven't been great lately. We both lost our jobs and there's just been a lot of stress. I'm sure that contributed to this story existing in the first place, but it feels good to know that I'm not just selfishly lashing out due to what's going on in my own head. Was honestly thinking that maybe I'm just an asshole as I was posting this. Y'all really gave me some peace at a really shitty time and I appreciate it. Ida for telling my sister's fiancé about her loyalty test. Using an alt because my friends use Reddit and not sure if I want to open this stuff up to those in my life as things haven't settled between everyone yet. I, 26F, have a younger sister, Lily, 24F, who's been with her fiancé, Mark, 28M, for 3 years. They've always seemed really happy together, and they're planning to get married next summer. Lily and I have always been close, but she can get pretty intense and a bit paranoid when it comes to relationships. A few weeks ago, Lily told me about this plan she had. She wanted to test Mark's loyalty by having her friend Sarah flirt with him at a party to see how he'd react. I told her it was a terrible idea and that she should just trust him, but she was dead set on it. She said she needed to be sure Mark wouldn't cheat on her once they're married. So, last weekend at a party, Sarah went ahead with the plan. According to Lily, Mark was nice but didn't flirt back and even mentioned he was engaged. But Lily was still upset because she felt he didn't shut Sarah down forcefully enough. I thought this whole thing was really unfair to Mark. He had no idea he was being tested, and I felt bad for him. So, I ended up telling him what Lily did. He was shocked and hurt but thanked me for being honest with him. Now, Lily is absolutely furious with me. She says I betrayed her and ruined her relationship. She won't talk to me, and she's saying I overstepped big time. Our parents are split on this. Mom thinks I did the right thing, but Dad thinks I should have stayed out of it. Mark is now reconsidering the engagement, and Lily has cut me off completely. I'm feeling really torn and guilty. I don't know if I did the right thing by telling Mark or if I should have just stayed out of it. Ida? And if I'm, how do I fix this? Should I try to repair my relationship with Lily? Should I reach out to Mark again or give him space? Any advice would be really appreciated. I'm so lost right now. Ada for getting angry at my father for choosing to go on a trip with his girlfriend over coming to see me. Hi all. I, 29F, have a 1-year/0 daughter. It is my parents' first grandchild, so they are very close with her. My husband and I live 2 hours from any family or friends in a different part of the state. My husband has a week-long meeting coming up, June, out of state, so I will be alone here. I told both of my parents they are divorced, and I asked each of them if they could come for a couple days to minimize the time I'm alone here. My daughter is very active, and though I can handle her if I need to, it will be helpful having family around and also makes me more comfortable than staying alone each night. Both of them said they could come. There were never any definite plans, but they each said they could stay a few days at different times. This was maybe 2 months ago. About a week and a half ago, I asked my father if he was still coming, and wanted to know what the plans were. He proceeded to tell me that he was going to Canada to visit my brother because it was his birthday. He said he couldn't go back on those plans because his girlfriend had already gotten a dog hotel to house her dog when they were gone. These plans were made after my father had already told me he was coming to visit me. My father is middle-aged, and so I brushed it off as him forgetting, and though I was annoyed, I honestly was happy for him to be going to see my brother because my brother is unable to visit the States right now due to various reasons, so it's important for us to visit him. Fast forward to today, and he came to visit me. I asked him about his trip to Canada, and he told me that he wasn't going to Canada. He was just going on a trip to a different state with GF. Apparently, they just randomly decided not to visit my brother and go to a different state instead. His GF loves to travel. They've been together for about 10 months and already gone on 2 or 3 trips together. It's very out of the box for my father because he really never used to travel unless it was to see his kids. I was quite cold to him for the rest of the day. I think he could tell, but we didn't have a conversation about it. I'm happy for him and the fact he's found companionship, but this isn't the only time he's bailed on visiting me because he wants to spend time with her. And this time I feel like he's leaving me high and dry because he had previously promised me that he'd come for a few days to help out while I'm alone. I just wish he hadn't told me yes if he had no intention of coming. I feel like him and his girlfriend could have just come to stay with me if they didn't want to go visit my brother. I have a spare room and there's a casino 5 minutes from where I live. His girlfriend loves the casinos. It's also very beautiful here and there's a lot of nature, so there was plenty for them to do. I'm upset. My husband seems to think I'm being a little bit of a jerk and says that it's my dad's life and he can do whatever he wants to do. He thinks I have no right to be upset. He says it was rude that while he was visiting I gave him the cold shoulder. So Ada, Wipta, if I leave my girlfriend who took care of me after surgery, I, 27 meters, have been within a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend, 25F, for about 4 years now. 2 years ago I had my appendix removed and she took care of me. She's a nurse, so she literally nursed me back to health. I'm really grateful that she traveled just to take care of me. But for the past 1 year, we have not seen each other. We don't talk as we should or used to. Each time I make the move to see her, she tells me she's busy or her mom is with her, so I can't go to her side, neither can she come to mine. So I let the issue of meeting up go. Now, if I don't text, that means I won't hear from her, and our conversation is all about checking up, nothing more. I've been complaining to her about the little attention she gives me in our relationship, but she always says she's busy with work. I'm still with her because I'm grateful to her for nursing me back to health. That's why I've held it in for over a year. But I'm tired. I feel lonely even though I'm in a relationship, but I don't want to be an ingrate. I recently brought this issue up and she said she would change. I even asked her if I'm still her boyfriend. She said yes and that she will do better, but there has been no change. So Wipta, if I break up with her. P.S. My family knows about our relationship and actually have a relationship with her. They are also grateful to her. Ada for leaving my husband before his pieces and wanting to take our daughter with me. Throwaway account. I have been married to my husband for over a decade. We met while I was also active duty and he stayed in the military while I pursued my dream career. Over the years, he became more rigid and controlling. I accepted the manipulation, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and physical abuse. He is the love of my life and I have a long history of mental illness and childhood traumas. We have a wonderful, smart, and hilariously chaotic child together. My husband has orders to pieces soon, and amongst the expected stress of a military move, the amount of IPV also escalated. I filed a restricted report for DV less than a year ago after confiding to a friend and showing her videos of him punching me while I was holding our child. He was ordered to attend counseling and a parenting class, but it just gave him more resentments towards me. He also blamed me for ruining his career from that incident. Recently, I visited the military security office after another episode of extreme IPV and a no-contact protective order was established. We have been able to switch out childcare without contact. I obtained a divorce lawyer, began moving my personal items out of the home, moved into a nearby extended stay hotel, and am waiting for the legal confirmation to take my daughter with me to his hometown. This move was planned for after his retirement, but if we move there now, it would allow our child more time with his family and her cousins. The move would give me a support system of amazing people, and the comfort of giving my child more core memories with her family. If he is able to remain in the military, this pieces will require deployments and long periods of him not being present. Ada for not wanting to move to follow my abuser, not have job or home as I don't have a license to practice my career in that state, or be left without any support system when he does eventually deploy. Ada for getting upset when a coworker commented on my weight. A few weeks ago, as I was walking down the hall, one of the maintenance guys who I've had previous encounters with, all generally positive, stopped me and said, "Hey, I've been meaning to tell you something. I know I shouldn't say this because you're a woman and I'm a man and I could get taken to HR and all that, but it looks like you've been losing weight and I wanted to say you look good." I was so uncomfortable, all I could really manage to respond was thanks I guess and walked away. I felt very angry about it after the fact. I was mad that he would comment on my body completely unprompted. It would be a different story if I had previous conversations with him about my weight, but I'd never mentioned anything about that to him. Personally, I don't think I've lost any weight recently. It just felt like he wanted an excuse to tell me I looked good or let it be known that he's been checking me out. What pisses me off the most is that he prefaced it with "I know I shouldn't say this," and he still did. I started avoiding after that, mostly because I didn't think that was cool and I just didn't want to interact with him anymore. The next time he saw me he said, "Hey, I haven't seen you," and I responded with "For my own good," before walking away. Then I saw him again and he said, "Hey, where have you been? No one is around to make me laugh," as if I'm some clown, and I just gave him a thumbs up and walked away. Am I being an asshole and overreacting? Or will he maybe learn to stop commenting on people's bodies? Conclusion. Thank you all for your input that I specifically asked for. I agree I could have had an adult conversation instead of being passive-aggressive. Moving forward I will just be courteous. I agree I'm an off for overreacting, though what I did to him was tame. I could have reacted worse. I would take the compliment if I was actually losing weight or making strides and I had mentioned it to him. But if anything I've gotten heavier. The way he said it was creepy. Plus I never asked. If you know you shouldn't say something, maybe just keep your mouth shut. I'm going to assume he's just awkwardly flirting and wasn't trying to be creepy. It will make me respect him more as a coworker. Ida for starting karaoke before the birthday girl arrived, which resulted in a friendship breakup. This was a few years ago now, so I'll remember it to the best of my ability. Myself, 28F, and my friend, 26F, booked and paid a deposit for a karaoke room in the city for our friend's 23rd birthday. I'll refer to her as BG, birthday girl, for future reference. Karaoke was booked for 7:30 p.m. for 2 hours. We had all planned to meet at the station to catch the train into the city together. Me and my friend both booked the day off work for her birthday. BG then had plans gardening during the day and said for us to go ahead into the city before her as she would like to spend some time getting ready before joining us. We gave her the option of a later booking, but she said for us to keep the earlier one. My friend and I wander around until the stores close. It's approaching karaoke time and BG is behind schedule, as is often the case with her being a frequent late person. We wait outside the karaoke place then at 7:20 p.m. BG informs us she still isn't on the train yet due to delays and also her missing the earlier train. We decide to queue up to get in. Once we are in, we figured we might as well order some drinks and start singing the songs BG isn't a fan of to get them out the way as we've now paid for the room. We asked BG to let us know when she is nearly here for us to meet her outside. Huge mistake. BG gets angry saying we've ditched her, should have waited and asked to delay the karaoke room until she got there. We paid a deposit which we would lose if we didn't go. BG was going to be a minimum of 30 late, which means that's at least 30 minutes of time we've paid for wasted. We offered to see if we can pay for a time extension so she can still get 2 hours with us. BG gets so upset she decides not to meet us at all and goes to visit another friend exclaiming we've ruined her birthday. This put a damper on the evening for us, but we tried to still enjoy the rest of our time there. BG holds grudges. I sent her a lengthy message the day after asking if she is okay and to explain the situation from my point of view. How if I were running late, I wouldn't expect or assume people to wait for me and instead suggest they go ahead all while apologizing for my tardiness. I didn't think it would be such a big deal and was shocked by her reaction. I acknowledged that as it was her birthday maybe we should have checked first. In BG's reply she wrote, "I never care about being late, I'm always late." She didn't think she was out of order at all. She was happy for us to go to the city without her but expected us to wait before going into karaoke. She went on to say she didn't even really want to go there much but agreed on it as she's a people pleaser. Called us selfish and how she wouldn't do that to a friend, birthday or not. I replied she is too childish for this type of conversation and she hasn't spoken to me since. Ada for telling my older sister to not complain about being the black sheep of the family when she can't be bothered to come to dinner with us on Mother's Day. My older sister, 45F, has always complained about being the black sheep in our family. But the older I get, currently in my 30s, the more I realize that she was the black sheep because she's just not a good person. Like she tries to be at times but then she reverts back to her selfish, narcissistic tendencies whenever there's the slightest inconvenience. And I can see so many instances where she caused problems that I wouldn't have caused if it was me in that situation. She calls me the favored child. I don't think I'm favored because my parents love me more. If I'm favored, it's because I'm more dependable. For example, my mom, 72F, was in the hospital for 2 months. My sister came to see her once. In 2 months. And it was only because she was with me and I forced her to come. Supposedly she was scared of COVID. This was last year. COVID wasn't even a big issue then. And this same girl wouldn't get the vaccine because she thought it was dangerous. Me on the other hand, I went to the hospital at least every 3 to 4 days. That basically tells me if I wasn't alive, my sister would have pretty much abandoned our mom. Today is Mother's Day. We planned dinner with our parents. I was gonna pay for everyone. I explained to my older sister last night what the plan was. Then today, she makes up a million
reasons not to come, stating that she was tired, that I didn't properly communicate the time, that I didn't choose the right restaurant, etc. I told her I don't want to hear her crying and complaining about being treated unfairly compared to me. She did 2 months ago, when from my POV, I constantly see her doing the absolute bare minimum for our parents, then wondering why they're irritated with her. I know in my case, I have given her thousands of dollars to help her at various points and her car has died or stopped at multiple times in the past 5 years. I've had to leave my house at 2 to 3 a.m. to get her. Literally like 4 to 5 times. But she can't come to a 1-hour dinner. And she always does stuff like this. Ada for telling her that and expecting her to come. Wibta if I, 21F, don't go to family therapy with my father, 50SM, and sister, 19F? Abrisana, I found out I have cancer and broke up with my GF. Abrisana, Ada for wanting to go low/no contact with my family without telling them? I'm currently 17F, and will be moving out of my home this summer. I have almost $5,000 saved, will be moving in with friends in another state to split rent/utilities, own my car which is to be transferred to my name when I'm 18. I plan on going low or no contact with my family. They've broken numerous boundaries when it comes to my comfort, space, and privacy, and I am the only sibling out of 3 who gets constantly interrupted, lectured, and ridiculed for saying/doing things to my siblings. If my siblings do those same things to me, I'm often told to suck it up. The second oldest and my parents, I'm the oldest, will do all of these things, as well as invalidate my feelings. I think I need to get out of the way that the issues I described and how that's affected me. It's been happening since I was a child and I have no memory of my life being any different. I cannot talk about serious topics with people I'm dating without wanting to break down because I'm used to being screamed at and lectured just for having my feelings. I'm aware that I'm okay in serious conversations with people other than family, but my anxiety has gotten so bad that I often have active panic attacks while talking to people about serious topics that may get heated. I have a huge fear of yelling, to the point that I've had panic attacks in 2 instances due to yelling while my parents were not involved. 1, at a rodeo after my dad screamed at me over the phone, and 2, after my ex's dad screamed at him over something small. I feel like I'm including so many details without actually saying much about my situation. I cannot spend 1 day with my family without being pushed into a negative mood. I hardly talk to them and I support myself by paying my own car insurance, gas, clothing, entertainment, and food for most occasions. I'm nearly entirely independent of my family except for living space, which has been hell already. We're moving into a new house at the beginning of July, which will be the time for me to sell everything I don't need, unpack and repack the essentials, and then immediately move when I'm finished getting separate bank accounts and an ID update. I have my SSN and birth certificate and it's been in my possession for a few years now. There's anxiety about me doing this and moving 1,000 miles away from my family. I have a lot of doubt, mostly because my family has been saying that they want me to wait to move out until I'm financially stable enough to. I literally support myself in all aspects except living space and save $1K plus a month with my current job, which will be able to transfer me to another one of their locations when I move. Is it my family's mental grasp on me that's giving me doubt? Ada, especially for not telling them? Ada for telling my friend her overinflated ego is off-putting? Context, she 18 rejected me 18 meters, 2 years ago, saying I'm too scrawny and ugly for her. Said that it's not my fault I look this way but she just can't be physically attracted to me. Last week, one of her friends 18F asked me out. I said yes. My best friend is upset at me though and claims that I'm using her friend to get over her. Said that her friend is basically a blonde version of her. I told her no, and that while she and her friend both have traits that fit my type, both violent martial arts girls who met at their karate dojo, it is extremely egotistical of her to see her friend as just a blonde version of herself like that. When I called her ego off-putting, she recoiled and said I didn't have to insult her when she was expressing her concern, and that she cares about both of us. Ada for not accepting a book on how to understand Christians better? This is an absolutely radical situation. I, 34F, and my husband, 39 meters, are currently living in a small caravan within my grandparents' garden. The move was meant to be a temporary situation to get us out of the shitty living situation we were in and to help look after my grandparents when my grandmother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. A few months ago my friend put me in contact with an older couple from his church who own their own properties and have one available. The place was supposed to be ready the end of April, but it's not how I haven't been able to apply for it. I lost my job a few months ago due to the building being sold. When I was working I ran a sex shop. I was very open about this but the husband somehow got it into his head that I was sex worker. I thought it was funny when my friend told me. They have been passing messages through him, even though they have both my email and my phone number. I sent them an email explaining what my job actually and said that even though I don't judge sex workers, I myself am not one. I also said that while I myself am not religious, I do understand if they have some reservation and they are free to ask me any questions. I was extremely polite and even ran it past my mother and a couple of friends before I sent it. The wife was somehow offended by the email and has brought a book for me on how to understand Christians better. I have very politely declined multiple times, but she won't let that shit go. I should add that I was brought up in a Christian household. My mother is Christian, my father is agnostic, but I was brought up in the church until I was around 10. I attended Sunday school and Good News Club every week, until we moved and my parents didn't formally go back to the church. I understand that not all Christians are the same, however I do not know them and was trying to be respectful. The only reason I brought up their religion is because it's a massive part of their lives. She is now hounding my friend about it even though I have told her multiple times that I don't need the damn book. I'm so close to writing her an email telling her to leave my friend alone and that I'm no longer interested in the house. I will accept whatever judgment you give. I'm aware I can be a little tone deaf sometimes, so I want to know if I actually did something wrong. My friends and family say no, and they aren't the kind of people to blow smoke up your arse, but I'm still unsure. Ada for feeling apprehensive about dating a recovering alcoholic. I went on a date with a girl last month and we had a lot of fun. I don't really like small talk on dates, so we got deep pretty quickly. It came up that she is almost a year sober and she had substance abuse issues. Anywho, she was nice and vulnerable, so I'm definitely down to hang again, but I'm definitely feeling apprehensive. She's expressed that the year was difficult to get through and I feel triggered by the fact that I grew up with an alcoholic father. I don't like the idea of not believing in people, but it gets me worried that a relapse could happen and I would be somewhat in the middle of it. Am I overthinking too soon, or is this a normal concern? Ada for mansplaining? For context, my female friend often asks me for help in school because from her words not mine I'm smart. I've always liked helping people outright. However, every single time that I help her out, explaining thoroughly the method to get the answer so she can do it by herself in the future, she says, "Thanks, but you didn't have to mansplain it," and I'm not sure I entirely understand how it's mansplaining. She asks me for help and I give her help. I always thought mansplaining was more unwanted explanation of something you already know. I don't want to be an ass as a man, but I don't see what I did wrong here. I'm all for feminism and women's rights. She then frequently tells our friend group that I mansplain things a lot. It's not an ego thing, but some of my female friends are genuinely starting to dislike me because of what this one female friend said to the friend group. I always try to speak in a way that doesn't belittle anyone. It's not like I explain things like she's a toddler. Am I in the wrong here? Ida for yelling at my daughter for being homophobic? I, 45F, have 6 kids with my husband, 45M. My kids are 21F, 16M, 14M, 11M, 8F and 8F. Our oldest daughter, Lizzie, has 3 kids, 7M, 3F and 3M. She had her first kid at 14 with her now fiancé. They had their twins at 18. My daughter decided to be a stay-at-home mom, while her fiancé is going to college. They live with us. Our oldest grandchild is her 7-year-old, Liam. Liam is a sweet kid. He's also on the feminine side. He likes gymnastics, dance, etc. Our 11-year-old son, Baylor, plays basketball and goes to a basketball camp over the summer. One of the younger kids at the camp is a boy, Calvin, 7M. Baylor acts as a mentor to Calvin. He goes to a different school district, but they develop this friendship at camp. Calvin sometimes comes to our house to get tips from Baylor. Liam recently developed his first crush, and it's on Calvin. Calvin will sometimes eat at our house, and now Liam likes to eat with Calvin and Baylor. It's a cute little thing. Calvin seems to enjoy this as well. On Friday, Calvin was over again and he asked to hang out with Liam. They were playing in the yard and Baylor had mentioned Calvin was asking about gay NBA players and said Liam made him feel happy. My husband and I have always suspected Liam would be gay, but we haven't said anything to him or Lizzie. On Friday night, Lizzie went into Baylor's room and started to ask him what he was pushing on Liam, saying Liam said he wants to marry Calvin. She accused Baylor of trying to make Liam gay. Baylor argued with her, saying he has a crush on a girl and asked why as a straight boy he would be pushing Liam to be gay. He said he doesn't care if Liam is gay, but he wouldn't push it. He came to us after the argument and my husband and I said we would talk to Lizzie. Lizzie defended herself, saying she didn't want any agenda pushing on Liam. We started to fight with her, saying we raised her better than to be homophobic. She said she had the right to raise Liam according to her values, so we started to get angry and I yelled at her and told her if she wants to raise him according to her values, she can move out and find a place where her values are more respected, but in our house we don't bully 7-year-olds for having crushes. She said no 7-year-old can know they're gay. We pointed out she had crushes that young, but she said that was different. She's angry at us and isn't speaking to us, but she posted on Instagram about how we were disrespecting her boundaries. Ida? Estranged father. Estranged father stopped frequenting a bar when I got hired as main bartender. I stopped contacting him several years ago, when I was hospitalized for mental health and never heard from him, despite him knowing. Then later he and his wife offered my sister and her well-established family some gently used furniture for free. I was a young 20-year-old barely getting a footing to survive. And he, knowing I was recently hospitalized due to stress, offered the furniture to my married well-established sibling in front of me. Okay, so now years have passed with no contact. I get a new bartending job where I frequented as a child. Turns out my estranged father is still a regular. The employees, my new co-workers, say he was there 3+ times/week, but since I've been working there, and the owner told him I was going to be working there, he hasn't shown up once. I'm kinda offended. BC he was tipping them but doesn't want to tip me? Or he is too awkward to handle the topic of the estrangement? Owner of the establishment said we lost my dad's business when I began bartending and I hate that. Am I the asshole? Ada for insisting we get a paternity test before I sign the birth certificate? My girlfriend and I believe in E&M. We aren't saying it's right for everyone, but it works for us. I work in town and have several partners for when she is working. She works at a huge construction project on the West Coast and flies home for 1 week after working for 2. Since the men outnumber the women, they're like 31, she has no problems finding partners. Recently she has gotten pregnant. We are always careful and use protection. But I realize that isn't always 100% effective. I am excited for a baby, and happy we are starting a family. However, I don't have any interest in paying to raise someone else's child. I told her that we need to get a paternity test. She said that I was the father. I said that was awesome. I just needed proof. She said no. I said that without proof I wasn't signing the birth certificate and that I would be moving out, so I could not be said to have acted as a parent. She thinks that because we are in a relationship I need to step up. Like I said, I have no problem raising a child that isn't mine. I just won't pay for the privilege. Ida? Edit. I edited my post because it was pointed out that I called her my wife. We are not married. Just a long-term relationship. Amita, I refused my husband for sex. Long story short, back between August to December he gave me religious divorce. According to him he didn't mean them, but I took it as genuine. I've consulted religious higher-ups in my community. The consensus is that we are divorced. My husband said they are wrong. I'm stuck at the house with my 4 kids and he has always been the breadwinner. He said he will never give me divorce, and even if he was to ever let me go, I can't have a dime from our marriage. He's been asking me for physical intimacy and I keep saying no. He starts getting angry and spam texting me. He threatens me by saying he will take away money and necessities. He said I'm using him for money, but TBH I don't even want to be here. He said he will make my life difficult if I try to leave. He said men have physical needs and 9 months is too long to go without sex. He said it's my fault that he has this desire with me because before all of our problems, we'd have sex every day. He also said he will be a nicer person once he has sex, because that's how men are wired. 2 days ago he forced me to show him my chest, otherwise he wasn't letting me leave the bathroom. I did lock it, but he had broken the door so it doesn't properly lock. Last night, he was spam texting me asking me for sex and I ignored his message. So since last night and all of today he has been spam messaging and said he is very very angry and I'm selfish for saying no. He said he doesn't need me to be emotionally or mentally there, just physically. I woke up to loud sounds, and turns out he was throwing our dining chairs. My kids came to me scared. He said I'm selfish for using his money and not giving him my body. Ada? I mean, he shouldn't have a choice. You can file for divorce and it may take longer, but he can't force you to stay married, especially since even if it's a religious country, he already did a religious divorce. I don't know what country you are in, but him locking you in the bathroom is illegal in most places. So if he does anything violent like this you should call the police and then try to get a restraining order. I am not sure what country this is, but if religious divorce is a thing, then you can't have intercourse with him. Involve the religious leaders in your community and if possible family. They should be able to help you based on the religion. NTA. Do you have any emergency cash saved? You need to take your children and leave him. What country and what resources are there for women suffering abuse? I'd start there and with your church. You are not the only one this has happened to, just the only one you know. Find the people who can help, as this will get worse. I've consulted religious higher-ups in my community. The consensus is that we are divorced. My husband said they are wrong. You need to appeal to those higher-ups and have them contact your ex to explain to him the reality. NTA.
Ada for punching my father in the face after he called my mother a B-word?
To give some background, I, 15F, have always had a bad history with my dad, 47 meters. Ever since my birth he has been verbally and even sometimes physically abusive with me. I am the oldest of 3 daughters. There were many instances where he was caught trying to pinch or punch me while I was still an infant for crying behind my mom's, 37F, back. Mind you, I was a baby, of course I'm going to cry. We have always had a rocky relationship as I grew up with my parents being separated and constantly arguing, but I have always been afraid of my father. There have been some occasions where when they're drunk, it has gotten physical. It traumatized me as a kid, and an incident happened in 2020. I'm not aware of what happened, but it was serious, where my mom finally had enough and decided to move to another city without telling him. They didn't live together. I was about 11 at the time, my sister was 8, now almost 12. Before we moved, he had been tipped off by an anonymous number that we were moving, and he was very angry. A couple months after we moved, my mom decided to give him a second chance and let him back into our home. For about a year and a half he seemed to finally improve his behavior, being kind, hanging out with us more, showing effort,
etc. etc. In July of 2021, my mom announced that she was pregnant, and in March 2022, my new baby sister was born, now 2. She was always a daddy's girl, always running up to my dad when he came home from work or just really clinging onto him, and he was a good father to her. However, in August of last year, he started to change. He was arguing, swearing more, hitting the furniture, and breaking things more. It has been 8 months and has only gotten worse. He has punched a hole in the wall. We live in a rental and it is a very serious risk of us losing our home, and has broken much furniture and scared everyone in the house. Now, his birthday is November. One night a couple days before his birthday, we were having a sit down and talking about how he has hurt everyone. It was my turn to speak, so I completely went off ad. I was screaming, crying, yelling, all because he had brought back the trauma from most of my childhood and it really had started affecting mine and my family's mental health. He got shitty and left. He missed his birthday and never came home until a couple days later. The same thing happened, yet it was Christmas. He left a couple days before Christmas, never showed up. He left a couple days before mine, my sister's, and my mom's birthday, February, March, Jan, and never showed up for any of those. My father had attempted unalive by taking many of his prescribed pills 3 times prior. Then, he had gotten fired from his job for many reasons, but mainly for using work equipment for attempting unalive. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago, we were having another sit down for his behavior. Prior to this, he had been kicked out multiple times and brought back, more times than I can count. During this time, my mom has gone into a deep state of depression, unable to leave bed, local of hygiene, etc. Now during the sit down, my mom accused my dad of stealing pills. He had done this before, and he absolutely flipped, yelling and everything. My sister, 11F, walked in and asked what was going on. At this point I was pretty pissed off with what he was doing, so I said Hess being a B-word. Then he yelled she's being the B-word, and pointed at my mom. I don't know what came over me, but I immediately got up and started punching him. Then, I punched him in the face, and he lost it. He punched another hole in the wall and started screaming, hitting furniture and such. We tried calling police but they never did anything. Cops are useless in my country. My sister started screaming at me and calling me names and saying I should never have done it and that I'm a horrible person. But my mom stands by what I did, and I don't regret it one bit, except for the fact I feel like it's my fault Therese another hole in the wall. So please help me out, Ada, for punching my dad. P.S. Some other stuff had happened after that, so let me know if you'd like to know more. Ida, for refusing to change the ownership of the house I bought for my parents. Hello. This is my first account. I'm not familiar with Reddit and its formatting. I only read Ida posts on Facebook and YouTube. This will be my first post. I apologize in advance for the long post and my mediocre English. I'm 33F, own multiple businesses. I'm not really rich, but since I'm single and childless, I have a lot of spare money. I also saved a lot for my retirement, since I don't plan to marry and have children. I'm the youngest of my siblings, and the one that made most money. My elder siblings sacrificed a lot for me to get education since my father passed away when I was 17. I'm forever grateful for them. My stepfather, Dan 68M, fake name, has 10 children with his previous wife. His previous wife passed away from cancer years ago. Dan and my mother, Susan 58F, fake name, was introduced when I was 20. I don't like his family. His children are all greedy and selfish. In my country, it's our culture to give money to our parents after we started working. Poor Dan was a school principal, but he loaned a lot of money for all his children, making sure they won't be trapped with student debt. In the end, his monthly pension money will be deducted from the bank to pay debts with little left for their expenses. Luckily, my parents have a farm and that helped them to earn money. My step-siblings always ignored him when he asked for money, and my siblings were always the one that sent money. My step-siblings will ask for vegetables and chickens from the farm for free. They didn't even come inside Dan's house, which is considered rude. They just took the things they needed and left. They rarely came back to visit them, and when they did, they rarely buy groceries. I worked hard to earn money for my family. I figured if I have money, I can solve all their problems and make their worries and sadness from poverty go away. 3 years ago, I bought a house for them and renovated it to their liking. The house is even bigger than my house and Dan's previous house. They can keep their dogs, fishes, chickens, and ducks. Dan is a good person. He helped me and my siblings when we were very poor. I paid for the house maintenance, hired housekeepers, and bought groceries every month. I gave them pocket money every month too. I made sure they would never lack of anything or need to work hard again, and all they need to do is relax in their old age. My step-siblings started to come frequently, stayed there at weekends and ate the groceries that I bought. All the groceries are high quality. I only buy the best for my parents. Hell, they don't even cook. They expect my mother to cook for them. If not for the 2 housekeepers, my mother will be tired keeping the house clean because all of them are lazy asses. Their children throw snacks on the floor. Me and my siblings appeared amicable with my step-siblings, but we expressed our disapproval behind their backs. We know they do the same. They're two faces after all. They even ask for some money from my stepfather sometimes, the pocket money that I gave to him every month. My stepfather will always give some of his money every time, much to my frustration. There are literally chef, accountants, manager and teachers. A week ago, I came back alone to my hometown and stayed in my parents' house. I came to see if my parents lack anything in the house, and to see the dogs and 2 cats. 3 of my step-siblings were there, with their family. We all talked for a bit in the living room, and then the topic of the house ownership came up. Apparently, my stepbrother thought the house is on Dan's name. I told them the house is still on my name. They got upset and passive-aggressively said I don't trust or care about Dan or my mother. I asked why does it matter since Dan and my mother live a comfortable life and I would never kick them out. Dan, being a passive-aggressive individual himself, shut them out and praised me, saying that I'm not his daughter but still do more. They were offended and went home that night. They have been making passive-aggressive posts about being controlling on Facebook ever since. My siblings made passive-aggressive posts as well. Most of it are mocking quotes about greedy and shameless people. Ida for refusing to change the ownership of the house. Does it matter when I managed everything in the house? Ada for saying I would not care if my partner cheated on me. Yesterday we were hanging out with some friends and the topic came to cheating in relationships. When I was asked my opinion, I told them I would not really care if my GF cheated on me. There is not a need to sulk over it. It's just a girlfriend and cheating proves the point that they are not the one. From my point of view, life is too short to get sad about these things. In the end, cheating is not even your fault. It's just cheaters trying to fill the emptiness inside them or cover their insecurities through physical or emotional acts with other people. I clearly told them I would not even need to get over it. In one of my previous relationships I was cheated on and they were caught during the act. I told them to have fun and just left. People were taken aback by my answer and asked if anything would change if it was wife instead of girlfriend. I said no. I would just divorce and we would go to our separate ways. There is no need to prolong things and stay in a broken marriage. Some said if I would not try marriage counseling first. I answered no because there is no reason to. Marriage counseling should be done before the act of cheating instead of after it. If cheating spouse has any problems, they should communicate them with the other partner and try to solve it. If they cannot, they should divorce and cheating is never an option. Doing marriage counseling after infidelity is like murder or going to murder scene to revive the victim, but victim has to do most of the work to get revived. I do not care about closure at all. I do not care about the reason. People and especially my GF seem shocked by my answers and ask me if I have any emotions at all. I do have emotions, it's just that I do not see it necessary to spend my emotional energy on something I have no fault on or that'll hurt me. Life is too short to be bothered by that. GF told me she does not see me in the same light anymore and thinks I do not value our relationship. She is not talking to me now. Ada? You're NTA. I get what you're trying to say here. When I was asked my opinion, I told them I would not really care if my GF cheated on me. There is not a need to sulk over it. It's just a girlfriend and cheating proves the point that they are not the one. You're saying that if they're going to cheat, then they aren't the right person for you and you realize that. Personally, I agree with you. I can't control my partner and I don't want to have to monitor my partner's every move. If I can't trust them, then they have no place in my life. If your GF has no intention of cheating, then this is a mood issue. Don't understand why she'd be so upset, Ida, for telling my sister she can't have her wedding at my house. My 30M sister, 28F, recently got engaged and is planning her wedding for next summer. She and her fiancé are trying to save money, so she asked if they could have the wedding at my house. I live in a nice, spacious home with a large backyard, so it would be perfect for an outdoor ceremony and reception. Initially, I was open to the idea. However, as we started discussing details, it became clear that it would be a huge undertaking. My sister wants to invite around 150 guests, which would require extensive preparations, renting tents, tables, and chairs, arranging for parking, and setting up porta potties, since my house can't accommodate that many people. Moreover, she expects me to cover a significant portion of the costs because it's family, and she's already on a tight budget. I would also have to take time off work to help with setup and cleanup, and the event would likely cause significant wear and tear on my property. I expressed my concerns to my sister and suggested looking into more affordable venues or scaling back the guest list. She was very upset, saying I was being selfish and unsupportive. She even accused me of not caring about her happiness and trying to ruin her big day. Now, our parents and some other family members are pressuring me to reconsider, saying it's just one day and I should be willing to make the sacrifice for my sister. They argue that it's a small price to pay for family and that I'll regret it if I don't help her out. I feel terrible about the situation, but also think it's unreasonable to expect me to take on such a big financial and logistical burden. Ida for telling my sister she can't have her wedding at my house. Ada for getting upset at my boyfriend for saying I'm too skinny. My BF Carter, 24M, has made a few remarks lately about my body and how I need to fatten up, his exact words. Keep in mind I'm always on the smaller side no matter how much I eat. If anything, I feel like I eat so much food but never gain weight. But the most recent remark that made me upset was him comparing me to his ex who was a lot thicker with big boobs. He said, "Don't get me wrong, you're hot as fuck and I love you, but sometimes I think about my ex's body." I was like, are you serious right now? We've been fighting about this for the past few days and I don't know if I'm overthinking it or not. Ida for teaching my nephews stuff my brother and his loopy wife don't want them to know. My brother is a religious nutcase. I personally think that's fine as long as it doesn't impact on anyone else. He is a tradesman and his wife stays home and homeschools their kids. Once again, that is a choice people make and 100% is right. I was over at his place during the eclipse that just happened and I heard them explaining to the kids how it worked. It was a fascinating journey into madness. There were secret conspiracies, spheres, not Earth, a dome, and somehow contrails. I kept my mouth shut until the kids buggered off. Then I asked him if he was just fucking with his kids. Nope. They actually believe this stuff. And a bunch of other stuff. This is recent. My brother was educated at a regular high school. Our parents are not delusional like this. This last weekend they were visiting us and the kids were all excited about the northern lights being visible. I live out on an acreage so they were gorge away from the city lights. My kids asked for an explanation about them, so I tried to remember all of the stuff I learned in school about them. About solar particles, magnetic fields, and high-altitude atmosphere. I also looked it up on my phone to make sure. My nephews asked how this was possible on a flat Earth, and I explained that the flat Earth was an idea that went away for most people a long time ago. My brother isn't happy and neither is his wife. They said that it isn't my place to teach their kids ideas that are wrong and disagree with scripture. I told him that his behavior with regards to his kids' education was borderline abusive, and that I didn't understand why he wants his kids to grow up so ignorant that they cannot get a post-secondary education. He just said it was best if we didn't see each other until I got right with God. I am a Christian. I still think my brother is a whack job. I don't think I'm wrong for answering his kids' questions honestly. Update. Ada letting my ex-best friend to go homeless with her newborn baby. Original post linked here. Here's the update. Jess 24 had the baby, and after 10 months of no contact, she reached out. We went for coffee, and she updated me what happened in those 10 months, and admitted she cut me off on purpose, as she is jealous of my accomplishments. The 70-year-old baby daddy is now 71 and he asked not to be on the birth certificate and he's not. He hid the baby from his family, 3 adult kids in their 40s. He was not there during the delivery and didn't even bother going to the hospital. She got kicked out of his apartment and living with her abusive mother, where she desperately wanted to move out. The reason why she reached out is due to she ran out of money due to her shopping addiction and she now needs support. She asked if she could stay at one of my rental properties for free or if she can borrow some money from me. It was a pretty easy decision for me, as I told her straight up that I'm not an ATM machine and if she would have kept me as a friend 10 months ago I would have considered to help her. However, I am still willing to be friends and work on our friendship. She was pretty upset about it and said that since I am so well off I should help her. I told her no again and said we will revisit this conversation again if we maintain friends. Well, since that conversation I invited her to have lunch and coffee a few times. And stop paying for things and driving her around like I did before. She pretty much stopped communicating with me immediately. I guess my question is Ada to put her out on the streets. Ida for the resentment I feel towards my husband for calling me lazy. I'm 29F, leaving for the Air Force in August and quit my job recently to prepare. My husband, 30M, works full-time and expects to do absolutely nothing and just relax when he gets home. I clean up around the house, cook his meals from scratch, do laundry, wash, fold, and put all clothes away, and take care of our dog, feeding, walking, etc., while he's at work. All of which are done or nearly done by the time he gets home. Lately he's been saying I'm slacking and getting lazy on him because I asked him to fix his own plate the other night. I cooked and he wasn't ready to eat, so the food sat out for a while and I had packed it away and cleaned the kitchen. Once I came upstairs and got comfortable in bed, he was ready for his food. Then last night I got takeout and he asked me to pick up some cookies from Crumble for him, which I did. While on the phone with him driving home, I asked if he could feed the dog so I can go straight to fixing plates and he said he was busy watching videos on my laptop about graphic designing, although he has a business partner who does designs for him. I was a bit annoyed and said I was just asking for a little help, but never mind, I've got it. As I walked in the door, he was getting the dog bowl to mix the food. I boiled ground turkey for the dog earlier while he was at work to mix with his kibble. He told me he wasn't ready to eat yet, but his food was in the fridge and I told him to let me know when he wants it. He didn't say anything, and warmed his food and ate later. When we were laying in bed that night, he asked me if I'm okay and if being a wife is overwhelming. He questioned if I understood the duties of being a wife and tried to make me understand that he expects to just come home and relax after work. He doesn't mind walking the dog or taking out trash at night because it's dark out, but even those little things I asked are problematic because he's tired and I have the time to do them. After talking to him, he apologized for calling me lazy, but I still feel bad about it because that's clearly how he feels because he said it more than once. I have no problem doing things for him and I genuinely try to keep up with everything and rarely ask him to make his own plate. I can literally count on one hand how many times I have in the 2 years we've been together. I just think it was unfair to say I'm lazy or question my capabilities as a wife because of those small things. I honestly feel a little resentment towards him about it now. Am I overreacting? Am I wrong/lazy for expecting him to do little things from time to time? My parents confessed last Christmas that my sister was the product of my mother's affair. Ada for cutting my parents out of my life. So I'll cut right to the chase. I, 19M, was always treated as the golden child of the family. Lavish birthdays, lavish gifts, lavish everything. I liked the attention initially when I was a child, but as I grew older, I grew more and more sympathetic to how my parents treated my sister, 18F. I never understood it. I initially thought it was because I was a boy and she was a girl, and that maybe they were sexist. It wasn't that they treated her badly, it's just that she was a complete afterthought, and as I grew older, that hurt me a lot. I started working part-time jobs at 14, and started saving up money to get her birthday gifts, and other gifts. It wasn't much, but it had thought and effort, something which my parents lacked. It was pretty obvious that my parents were the biggest cause of my sister's self-esteem issues. They always talked about how smart I was, how I was destined for big things, and they bragged about it to other friends and extended family. But they hardly ever praised my sister. I was pretty fed up with it all, and after graduating high school, I rejected an offer to go to an Ivy League because I did not want my parents' help to pay for my college education. I did get acceptance into a decent university which offered me a full-ride scholarship, and I accepted that. A year later, my sister too got accepted into the same university with almost a full-ride scholarship. 4 months ago, we were at our parents' house for the Christmas holidays, and my parents confessed that my sister was the product of an affair that my mother had. They straight up said they will never love her, that she was a mistake, and that they wanted nothing to do with her anymore now that she was 18. It was shocking. My sister was obviously devastated. My sister and I immediately left the next day. Before leaving, I told my parents that they were dead to me, and I wanted nothing to do with them anymore. I seriously hated them. I'm not sure why my mom was even crying. Anyways, it's been 3 months. My sister and I have both taken a break in college for a semester. My sister is still struggling extremely hard, but we've moved in together and it's gotten better the last couple of weeks, and she has also started therapy last week. I will never contact my parents ever again in spite of all they did for me. I am dead set on that. But I wonder, Ada? NTA? You are doing the right thing. They decided to blame and punish the only innocent in the situation. They suck. NTA? Good on you for not leaving your sister to fend for herself. She was not the person who cheated. Your parents are pretty gross emo. Good luck, Op. Hope you and your sister do really well in life and share not a moment or a penny with the Oz who would do that to their kids. I left my boyfriend's house because I was tired of watching his niece and nephew. Ada. I, 23F, stayed at my boyfriend's, 28M, house last night. My boyfriend and his sister live together, and his sister has 2 kids, a son, 4Y, and daughter, 11 months. I usually don't stay at my boyfriend's house to avoid waking up in the morning to kids yelling and just being loud. I do love kids, but right now I don't see myself being a caretaker of any kids. This morning his sister left the kids with him and I. Around 10 a.m. I woke up and said hi to the kids and he asked me to watch them for a couple of minutes while they cleaned. I didn't mind because I thought it'd take at most an hour. But after 4 hours of trying to calm down the 11-month-old and answering his nephew's 1001 why questions, I was a bit fed up. Around 2:30 I told him I was going to head home. He asked why. I told him I honestly didn't plan on spending my first Saturday off from work and school like this. All my friends are at the beach and having fun and I'm stuck here taking care of kids. He got mad and said he couldn't believe I was saying that and that why couldn't I just help him. Then he said he can see we have very different morals and that it's good I'm not considering kids anytime soon. I told him it is good and that I'll be going home to spend time with my friends and family. Ada? He is just mad because he has to watch them now. NTA? What was he cleaning? Where did his sister go? Did she ask you and your boyfriend beforehand to watch the children? You as a no-child person have every right to feel the way you do. NTA, you are not obligated to offer free babysitting for your BF sister. They should be able to figure it out. Sounds like they're taking advantage of your time, and it's messed up that he's trying to guilt trip you into free babysitting. Your time is too valuable for that. 4 hours of cleaning? Wow. NTA. I have to laugh at what your BF said, though. Then he said he can see we have very different morals and that it's good I'm not considering kids anytime soon. What does morality have to do with being roped into babysitting for free? And second, yeah, you are 23 years old, still in school. I hope you're not ready to have kids. Enjoy your life, have fun, be young and carefree. He got mad and said he couldn't believe I was saying that and that why couldn't I just help him. Then he said he can see we have very different morals and that it's good I'm not considering kids anytime soon. NTA. And honestly, I wouldn't stick with someone so disrespectful. Using morals like that has anything to do with him using you to care for the kids so he doesn't have to. This is your day off and he expects you to use it babysitting for him. What cleaning is he doing for 4 hours straight, and where the heck did their mom go? Go hang with your friends on the beach and relax like you should be doing, and leave the doorknob to look after his nibblings. Ada for getting upset with my girlfriend for not believing me? My 28F girlfriend, 30F, and I have been together for almost 3 years. We've had some rough patches, but in general things are mostly good. One of our most frequent arguments, though, is her about her drinking. She doesn't drink often. We go out maybe 2 to 3 times a month these days, and she doesn't really drink at home anymore, so I'm unsure it should even matter. However, when she does drink, she goes hard, and then we'll start taking other things. It's frustrating, but I try to think of it as fine since it's not a normal thing. She turns into a different person and gets super jealous, though. Last night we went to the bar and things were going fine most of the night. Admittedly, I got pretty drunk, because it was her turn to be designated driver. She stuck to 2 drinks and I was enjoying how smoothly the night was going. Then one of her drunk friends kissed me while we were dancing. Right in front of her. I didn't kiss her back. I immediately pulled away and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." My girlfriend stormed off and I followed after. She said she couldn't believe I'd do something like that and she felt completely betrayed. But I didn't kiss her friend. She kissed me. I pulled away immediately and let her know it wasn't okay. Yet somehow it's still my fault. Ada in this situation for leading her on. Simply by dancing with her. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect to get so many responses. It seems like there's a lot of confusion, so I'm adding an edit with more details. I didn't mean to badmouth my girlfriend in the first paragraph to make myself look better. I just wanted to add some context. Usually I'm not the one drinking, but when we went out, I decided to. I added that part to explain that even as the designated driver, she still needs to drink, and had to. I guess with this specific question it is irrelevant though. It was more so to explain that I've dealt with her drinking and substance abuse plenty and haven't given her shit about it the way she does anytime I choose to drink. I wasn't slow dancing or sexy dancing with her friend as many of you assumed. We were in a group on the dance floor. My girlfriend was right there when it happened. As were her friends and my friend. It wasn't just me and her friend dancing together. The is the one who leaned in and kissed you. You did the right thing by gawking away from it. Your GF needs to think about that because it is your actions that matter in the relationship and your actions prove your faithfulness to the relationship. I'd guess the scenario would have been different on your part had your GF not been there with you, but in this scenario, you did not do wrong. However, a suggestion to maybe not, I assume, slow dance with her friends. Especially while all drinking. Her so-called friend is in the wrong and if I were your GF I would drop that hoe like a hot plate. She is not to be trusted. Ada for getting upset with my boyfriend after he told me to lose weight. Me, F24, and my BF, M29, have been together for a while and he knows my history of having anorexia/severe body dysmorphia when I was 16 to 20 years old. Today we had a conversation about how we've been planning to exercise together because it would be such a nice hobby together. Although the conversation went into body types and I got offended when he told me that he would like me to lose some weight. I asked several times if he's seriously telling me to lose weight and he said yes. I started crying and felt worthless and explained him how his words hurt me, but I didn't get any apology. Just a smirking face from him saying that I shouldn't be so sensitive and that he did nothing wrong. After that I pulled on the most covering clothes I own and made him some breakfast and didn't eat anything myself because I felt so uncomfortable around him. In case you guys are wondering, I'm normal weight, gained a few, 5 kilograms after coming back from military in 2022, but those kilograms are long gone. I'm size SM and I have curves on my bust and lower body, but under no circumstances that's anywhere near fat, so am I the asshole when his comments really went under my skin because of the past, which he knew about. He also knew that I'm still suffering from the body dysmorphia. Anyone who smirks after they know they've hurt you is a red flag. Simple as that. No one should enjoy hurting their partner. NTA, and if you have a history of anorexia, it sounds like this man is toxic in my opinion. If he's not able to be educated in eating disorders, I would probably consider parting ways TBH. Sounds like he's a danger to your health. I have witnessed people lose weight for relationships and a lifetime of an eating disorder is a miserable existence. You don't need to be with some guy who smirks after he makes you cry. I am so proud that you overcame an eating disorder. You are stronger than you will ever realize. He is trying to make you smaller, not only in size but in confidence because he is weak. You don't need a man who is so weak that he will use triggers to make you lose confidence in yourself. SM is not overweight. Women have curves in their bust and thigh area because that was how evolution designed us so that we could carry and nurture the next generation if we choose to. It is literally survival of the fittest at work there. F this guy. Just show him the door. You made him breakfast after he insulted you? Buddha to yourself. He sounds like an absolute pig. My wife has applied to be a surrogate without my knowledge. My wife, 31F, walks up to me, 35M, this morning and proceeds to tell me she applied and was approved to be a surrogate mother. We have been married for 2 years, together 7, have 2 kids of our own and have been trying for a third. She's a stay-at-home mom. I provide for the family. I'm clearly agitated by the situation. I'm not yelling and screaming mad, but I'm upset. This decision affects our entire family. Not only have we been trying for our own baby, but this is going to be hard on our family, on our relationship, on her body, her mental and emotional health. I've expressed all of this to her and all she can come up with is that it's a selfless act to help another family, which I understand it helps another family. But at what cost? Her marriage? Her kids? I can't stop what I'm doing to take care of her when she's pregnant, especially if it's not my kid. I don't need or want the money she would be paid for carrying the child as we are well off because of what I provide. So please Reddit tell me how I'm the asshole. I probably won't have an update for a while. Ironically, this all had to transpire on Mother's Day, so she is currently out with her mother for the next few hours, and when she gets home I'm going to try to do something special for her with our kids. You know, because Mother's Day and shit. Whipta if I told my boyfriend he has to chill on talking about his dead mom. Abrisana, estranged father. Estranged father stopped frequenting a bar when I got hired as main bartender. I stopped contacting him several years ago, when I was hospitalized for mental health and never heard from him, despite him knowing. Then later he and his wife offered my sister and her, well-established family, some gently used furniture for free. I was a young 20-year-old barely getting a footing to survive. And he knowing, I was recently hospitalized due to stress, offered the furniture to my married well-established sibling in front of me. Okay, so now years have passed with no contact. I get a new bartending job where I frequented as a child. Turns out my estranged father is still a regular. The employees, my new coworkers, say he was there 3+ times/week, but since I've been working there, and the owner told him I was going to be working there, he hasn't shown up once. I'm kinda offended BC he was tipping them but doesn't want to tip me? Or he is too awkward to handle the topic of the estrangement. Owner of the establishment said we lost my dad's business when I began bartending and I hate that. Am I the asshole? Ada for unplugging the internet while my husband was playing COD? Okay, I know this story is pretty childish, but it's 9 p.m. and I have time to spare RN. So today is Mother's Day and my husband, 33M, bought me, 31M, flowers. TBH, I already told him the only thing I wanted for Mother's Day was to sleep more than 4 hours in a row. We have a 7-month-old and she still wakes up to eat every 4 hours and am the one waking up every feed. She's bottled fed, and help with cleaning. He said sure last night, but didn't wake up even after 5 minutes of hearing baby crying. I got up and fed her, at 2 a.m., and 6 a.m. too. He woke up at 7 and told me to go back to sleep and he was going to take care of her before our 2-year-old wakes up. Our 2-year-old woke up at 8, so I had a big hour more to sleep. At that point I was already a bit mad but didn't say anything. My in-laws were coming at 2 p.m. for dinner. We ordered, and I usually clean my kids' mess before they arrive. Both our kids nap at the same time, so I figured we could both clean during that time since my in-laws were coming soon. Nope. Husband went in the basement and started playing COD. 10 minutes into his second game I had the idea of unplugging the internet router and replugging it later, and that's exactly what I did. I just heard him screaming FCK, and he didn't figure out what it was, he just kept trying to reconnect. He just stopped playing and came back upstairs and saw me laying on the couch on my phone and looked at the mess our oldest daughter did and started cleaning. I know COD is not a game that you need to save or anything, but am I the off for doing this instead of talking to him about it? I already told him the day before what I wanted and he did 0 of what I asked. For anyone wondering, his team did still win without him. Thank you. Also, Happy Mother's Day. Ada, I didn't get my wife a Mother's Day gift. We do not have kids. We have a dog and a cat. We had talked when we first got married if we were going to get something for each other for either Mother's or Father's Day, and we agreed we were going to. We had a conversation 2 weeks ago about it, and I asked her if she wanted anything for Mother's Day, and she said no. I took that as she didn't want anything. So I didn't get her anything for today, and she became very upset with me and refuses to talk to me for the last 8 hours or so. I had bought her a card that I had misplaced and finally found and gave it to her, and she feels like it was an afterthought. Ada? Ada for giving up on my wife's first Mother's Day. So here's the situation. A few months ago my wife had mentioned this concert by an artist that is decently popular. Not Taylor Swift popular, but still a pretty big deal. We were passing by a new auditorium and she was going on about the show's plan for the venue coming up but really harped on the song artist. So it got me thinking. This could be a really fun outing for us this summer to have a date and a night to ourselves while my parents watch our baby. I buy the tickets for about $100 a piece. Decent seats without totally breaking the bank. We do have a newborn after all. A week or so passes and she was looking through our bank accounts like she regularly does and noticed a $200 plus charge in my account. She confronts me demanding to know what I was spending so much money on. I tell her it's a surprise for Mother's Day and I'll show her what it is then. That doesn't satisfy her. She digs in and finds out the charge was from Ticketmaster and continues to berate me on a daily basis on what the charge was. After about 2 weeks of this I give up. I tell her I got us tickets for the concert and I had already set up childcare for the night as well as a pet sitter. Expecting her to be happy, I was then heartbroken when she started to tell me how this was a total waste of money and how she appreciated this artist's music on the radio but would imagine her in concert to be extremely boring and how she never was interested in going, just that she was making passing conversation. For the record, I've heard her listen to this artist's songs on her Spotify on a regular basis throughout our dating/marriage. So here we are, on Mother's Day, and I've done nothing. No card. No flowers. No surprise of any kind. I'm hurt and feel burned. I had hoped for so much better today. I wanted to really show her I was listening and appreciate all the amazing things she does as a wife and mother, but I guess now I'm just a failure and an asshole. Ida for showing up to my boyfriend's hangout and embarrassing him because he lied to me. TW, small mention of Ed. Throwaway because my boyfriend is chronically on Reddit, but I will try to include as much detail as possible. I, F19, and my boyfriend, M19, have been together for 2 years. I'm sorry for how this is written. I am new to Reddit and I feel like there is so much to unpack. I am completely aware of how toxic this man is, but I am struggling to leave. I just need help understanding if in this situation I was in the wrong. For some backstory, my boyfriend, we'll call him Max, was my best friend for 3 years prior to our relationship. He was always caring and so much fun to be around. He seemed like the ideal man. Around 3 months of us dating, he started to chip away at me. If I tried to communicate that I was sad or hurt, he'd tell me I'm dumb and dramatic, then proceed to ignore me for 3 to 5 days until it was in his best interest to speak to me again. I set a boundary before we started dating that I did not want to have sex until marriage. Personal preference, absolutely no judgment towards anyone else's choices. And he has never stopped begging to have intimacy, but I have not given in. I asked to spend more time with him because when we do hang out, he is on his phone or sleeping the whole time, and his reply was, "I see you once a week already. You are so needy." Note, he does not have a job, he lives off his aunt's money, plays video games all day, and I pay for majority of everything we do. I have found texts with other women on his phone, not explicitly cheating but still flirty, like, "When am I going to get to kiss your forehead while I say goodbye as you walk into your house?" He also told me I was overweight, so I stopped eating for 5 months until I was hospitalized. Then I was too skinny, so he wanted me to start going to the gym. Anyways, along with many more awful things this man has put me through, the cherry on top was the other night where I think I finally lost it. Me and Max and his friends planned to hang out. When I texted Max asking what they decided we were going to do, he said they were trying to figure it out because the original place had a really long wait time and he'd let me know so I could meet up with him. Half an hour goes by and I'm texting and calling waiting for a response still. 2 hours later he says that him and his boys decided to do something but figured I wouldn't be interested, so he didn't reply. I was hurt and angry, but I brushed it off. He went out to eat after, so I asked him if I could meet him there so I'd at least get some time with him, and he told me he was just leaving. I FaceTimed my best friend, extremely upset, explaining the whole situation, and when telling her the part of him going home, she received a Snapchat of him still out to eat, one of those snaps you reply to everyone with, and she tells me about it. At this point I'm seeing red, and with the hype of my best friend I decide I'm pulling up to that place to confront him. When I arrive I can see him through the windows and I called him. I watched him look at his phone, show his friends, then put it face down. They begin to walk out and I get out of my car and say, "Max, get your ass in my car right now," and this look of horror came over him. He gets in my car and just starts calling me crazy and can't believe I would embarrass him in front of his friends. He leaves to take his friends home since he drove them, and I go home to all these texts gaslighting me saying that he lied about eating, it wasn't that serious. I said about 8 times, "It is not about you eating. It's about lying about where you were," and he ignores me and repetitively says he did nothing wrong. I need to apologize to his friends, and I'm psycho. Finally, he breaks me down. I apologize to him and his friends and agree I was crazy. Now fast forward to today, where I received the pit in the stomach "Hey girly" text. I guess the place they went to before going to eat, they invited this girl and her friends. Her text included how flirty he was with her, and a video of them playing around with his hands on her. I am so distraught and my mind feels so cloudy. Max is still getting me short responses and I have no idea what to do. Ida for showing up and embarrassing him in front of his friends. Ida for not attending my daughter's wedding. Little background, I'm a 52-year-old man and I just recently found out my youngest daughter, who is 22, is getting married. She lives in Washington and works as an elementary school teacher, She doesn't come home often as she has her own life pretty far from where we live. Recently she came home for her brother, also my son's, baby shower as he and his wife were expecting their fourth kid. I was happy to see her but was surprised when I saw a middle-aged man with her. She then told me he was her fiancé. My ex-wife and girlfriend were so happy as were my kids and my daughter-in-law. I then found out my daughter was marrying a 42-year-old man. I was shocked and automatically did not approve. This man was only 10 years younger than me and I didn't appreciate the fact of him dating my young daughter. My family talked to him and he's a good guy. He's got his own contracting business and makes a lot of money. However, I couldn't shake the thought of this grown man taking advantage of my daughter. I was very uncomfortable and to make it worse I found out she started dating him when she was 18. I nearly blew a gasket because all I could think was my barely legal daughter being taken advantage of by a then 38-year-old man. The next weekend she called me and asked if I'd save the date for May 25th as that's when she'd be getting married. She said her fiancé opted to pay for the immediate family's flights to Washington. I told her it wouldn't be a problem as I wouldn't be attending. She asked why and I told her I didn't feel comfortable with her marrying a man 20 years older than her. She told me she loved him and he loved her and that after they got married he told her she wouldn't have to work and he'd support her. She decided she loved working and was okay with continuing to work. He was fine with that. I told her I understood all that, but I just couldn't shake the icky feeling of my daughter practically marrying someone who could be her father. She told me she'd be heartbroken if I didn't attend because she wanted me to walk her down the aisle as she dreamed. While I felt guilty, I stuck to my guns. She hung up on me and when I got home my girlfriend asked why I wouldn't attend the wedding and I told her my reasons. She said that wasn't good enough and that this was an important day for my daughter. My ex-wife was also angry as was my other daughter. The only one who sided with me was my son as he would also not be attending due to not wanting to see that as it disgusted him for his younger sister to be marrying an older man as well as his wife's issue with flying since she was close to having her baby. Now as I write this my ex-wife informed me my daughter was crying her eyes out over the phone due to my son and I not attending her wedding. She said she didn't want to get married if her brother and dad weren't there and she actually called the wedding off. After months of planning her dream wedding she and her fiancé decided to elope instead then take their honeymoon to Switzerland. I feel terrible as I know my daughter has been so excited about the wedding she planned. So, am I the asshole? Ida for living? I've never had a good childhood. Growing up, I suffered from verbal, physical, and sexual abuse. The trauma has impacted my self-esteem and outlook in relationships. I've been diagnosed with depression and currently in treatment for it. It's been hard. There were more sad days than happy ones in my life. The people who were supposed to protect and love me failed. I met a wonderful man in 2011. He helped me grow and was my biggest support system. During the later 3 years of our relationship, he began to get colder, gaslighting me and saying hurtful things. I wasn't perfect in the relationship. My insecurities and trauma was just getting worse. We broke up in December 2020. The breakup really affected me. For the first time in my life I felt like I was alone. The future I tried to build was no longer there. I didn't know who I was. My ex was really helpful during the 2 years after the breakup. He paid for the therapy sessions, treatments, and was there to support me. Even with his help I still spiraled deeper into depression. He made the choice to no longer be in my life because it was too much for him. I promised him I would try to make it to 2025. It was extremely difficult for me to navigate my new life. I've made positive changes in my life, made new friends and connections. But despite all my efforts there still remains this pain that never stops. Even now this pain and sadness continue to affect me. Why would I honor a promise made with a person no longer in my life? It's been difficult to not end things every day. It feels like I'm battling my own need to die. I'm going to try to make it to the end of this year. I've already made plans on how to end my life. I lied to my health providers and family that I'm doing okay. I laugh a lot in front of people, but I cry when I'm alone. I don't plan on telling anyone about 2025. This is my confession. Ida for being upset my husband ruined Mother's Day. A couple weeks ago I told my husband I wanted a bird feeder with a camera for Mother's Day. For context, we can afford one. My husband made a comment that it's a tradition to take our daughter out and get me candy or a teddy or flowers. I got upset and said, I'm the mother, how is it possible for me to be wrong about what I want for Mother's Day? We got into a fight and he cried and said he would get me the bird feeder. It was already pretty much ruined, but I looked past it. Last night he comes up to me and says I couldn't get you the bird feeder, I got you other things. I seriously thought it was a joke. Only it wasn't a joke. Basically, he got my a candy bar, a balloon, and some flowers. He completely disregarded what I had asked for twice and I know it's because what he chose to get me is significantly less expensive. Again, we are not struggling financially right now, but he has been obsessed with money because he lost his job. Ida for being upset he completely ignored what I said I wanted and did his own thing anyways. It's not about the bird feeder, it's the fact that I was ignored and my wishes disregarded completely that has me feeling so shit about it. Update, I have talked with him and I think he is genuinely stressing over money. I apologized to him for getting upset and I was going to get the bird feeder myself but he wants to get it for me and doesn't want me to pay for it myself. I talked to him about how I felt dismissed and ignored and explained that it isn't about how expensive the gift is. Just being listened to and heard is a big deal. I found one on Amazon for as cheap as $44. Also, a lot of y'all jump into the comments assuming you know the financial situation when you do not. I am a disabled veteran and so is my husband. We both served, we both sustained injuries. We receive $6K a month in compensation. Me $4K and $2K. We have had to tighten the strings on some things due to him losing his job, but we are nowhere near destitute. And that's that. Thanks to the men for calling me a bitch and a cunt. My sister just came home from college. My older sister just got home from college, and I already feel like she's controlling my life. This isn't something big, just something I need to know if I'm overreacting about. She got home today and it was going well. She drove me around, we talked about the future, all that shit. Then as soon as we get home I notice it. She goes outside while we eat because she hates the chewing sound my younger sister and I make. She tells me I can't shower in the morning anymore because it'll be humid when she goes to shower. And when I agree and start showing at night, she rushes me saying all she can hear is the shower running and she's trying to sleep. I just feel like I want to cry because the process starts all over again. And I can't even tell anyone that it bothers me because she has some serious mental health problems and hates being disciplined. I don't want her feeling that way again since I want her comfortable in her own home, but I don't get why I have to be uncomfortable either. We just can't seem to find a balance. Ada for telling my partner he did a shitty job at making me feel celebrated for my first Mother's Day. My partner and I recently had a baby 6 months ago. Today is obviously my first Mother's Day and so far, I feel like he's done a shitty-ass job at making me feel celebrated. I don't expect over the top, breakfast in bed, flowers, and all that stuff, but some effort goes a long way. When he asked me last week what I wanted to do, I told him I would be happy with going out to brunch and perhaps sleeping in a bit. Our daughter sleeps through the night, but she wakes up around 6:30 to 7 a.m. Well, I had to book reservations for brunch because it's a Thursday. He hadn't even booked anything yet. We live in one of the most populated cities in America, and said he thought we could just pop in somewhere early. Lol TF. Last night, he mentioned that he wanted me to sleep in on Mother's Day because it's MD and I should. Then today, Mother's Day, when our daughter woke up, he started grunting loud as f and making all this disgruntled noises about the fact that she was up already, that I decided I would just get up with her. He didn't bother saying, hey, are you sure? Or no, I got this. Just let me get up. So, Ada, because I completely plan on letting him know he did shitty job at even making me feel like this day even mattered to him. Part of me wants to do the same for him on his first Father's Day, but I also want him to truly feel good about himself that day, so I probably won't. Ida for refusing to put a dozen disclaimers on a Mother's Day post. I've noticed a trend on social media in recent years of women doing a Mother's Day post with a dozen disclaimers about how Mother's Day can be hard for some women. People who have lost children, can't have children, people whose mothers have died, people who don't communicate with their moms, fur moms whose cats have crossed the rainbow bridge, etc. So instead of people who celebrate Mother's Day just celebrating Mother's Day, my social media is full of Mother's Day posts filled with disclaimers. Like, here's a photo with me and my daughter. I had a wonderful Mother's Day. Sorry to everyone for whom this day is difficult due to XYZ. Ida for refusing to do this. I'm a mom and I just want to enjoy Mother's Day without spending half my time apologizing for it. My heart genuinely goes out to people in the above scenarios who struggle with Mother's Day or are triggered by celebrations of motherhood, but if that's you then stay off social media on Mother's Day. Also, I've never once seen similar disclaimer posts for Father's Day. So, today I plan to enjoy Mother's Day to the fullest, celebrate being a mom, post a photo of me and my daughter on my social media, and I refuse to apologize for it and or add any disclaimers for those who may not like this day. Ida? She's in therapy because of my husband Ada. So my husband grew up with a girl, we'll call her Jane. They dated briefly, but things didn't work out. They had an FWB situation for years. When him and I got married, we discussed his friendship with Jane. I didn't care if they remained friendly as long as she respected boundaries. A friend of ours was getting married. We'll call him Bob. My husband was worried about Jane not being invited to the wedding. He felt like she would be mad at him and feel left out if she wasn't invited since they all grew up together. I asked Bob about it. Bob tells me that Jane isn't coming because she is in therapy over my husband, and she couldn't handle seeing us together at the wedding. This is news to us. We had no idea that she was mad at my husband at all. We've been married 11 years. I tell my husband he shouldn't talk to Jane anymore. He needs to leave her alone so she can heal. He agrees but is hopeful they can repair their friendship later. The wedding comes and goes. Another event is planned with mutual friends and we are invited to this event. Jane is also invited. My husband is worried about seeing her as he doesn't want to cause her any upset. I tell him it'll probably be fine. At the event, Jane approaches my husband and asks if she can talk to him alone. My husband tells her anything she needs to say to him, she can say in front of me. She tells him that she is pissed at him for not reaching out to discuss her being in therapy over him and she is mad that he didn't try to talk her into going to Bob's wedding. He tells her that her therapy is none of his business and that it wasn't his job to talk her into going to Bob's wedding. Jane tells him, "It's your fault that I'm in therapy." He asks how it was his fault. She tells him, "Everything was going along fine and then you suddenly got married out of nowhere. Since you got married in Vegas, I figured it was a fluke." He says, "So you're in therapy because my marriage wasn't a fluke." She says, "You hooked up with me for years but refused to commit, then suddenly you commit to someone else." He tells her, "We dated and you broke up with me because you didn't want a long-distance relationship, then you didn't want to relocate to where I was. You knew there was no future for us, but you kept visiting me and hooking up with me anyways. How is it my fault that you lied about being cool with the situation when you weren't? I should be mad that you pretended to be my friend while secretly hoping my marriage would fail so you could get another chance with me. I think therapy is where you belong." I grabbed my husband's hand to signal him not to say anything else. Jane was clearly upset. She grabbed her things and left. My husband asked me if I thought he was too mean to her. I told him he wasn't. She was looking for attention but didn't get the attention she wanted. I told him it was time to cut her off completely and that they can't be friends anymore since she clearly wants to be more than his friend. I say you can't be friends with someone that has unrequited love. He thinks if therapy helps her, maybe they can be friends again later on. He thinks cutting her off while she's in therapy would be mean. I say it needs to be done. Ada for insisting he cut off his childhood friend. Ada for calling my girlfriend out for always disregarding my opinions/choices. This may seem quite petty, but it's something that's been annoying me, so I just wanted to know what other people thought. I've been with my partner for 2 years. I was grocery shopping with my partner and we were grabbing some cheese. My partner asked which one I wanted and I just said it is best to go for cheddar since we were planning on doing cheeseburgers for dinner so it would go well. She then picks up mozzarella and says she thinks this will be better because you get more. It was a 15 grams difference. She picked the mozzarella, then we kept going around the shop. We needed milk, so I grabbed the milk I normally get and she again stops me and says she'd prefer full fat instead of semi-skimmed, which we usually get. She then does the same thing when I grab another item and I just asked what the point of her asking me was. She asked what I meant and I just pointed out she keeps asking me to pick things and then as soon as I do she chooses something different. I just said there's no point actually asking me because every time I've voiced my opinion she's deliberately ignored it and gone for something else. I asked if she was expecting me to pay for any of it and she said yeah, and I just told her that surely I should get a say in the things we're getting that, and she just repeated the different reasons why she chose what she did. I just repeated that it's not really fair to think she can choose everything we're buying but then still expect me to pay for at least half of it, and just said I should actually have a say in the food we're buying. Another example is that we were ordering food last weekend. She asked me what type of food I wanted and as soon as I answered she just said, "Oh no, we won't order that, let's get this instead." She said I was overreacting and that I was starting an argument over nothing. I told her it wasn't over nothing. It was over the fact she completely disregards my opinion and preferences. She just said I was being too harsh towards her and that she'd done nothing wrong. Ada for calling my girlfriend out for completely disregarding my opinions/choices. Whipta if I completely ghosted my dad. Hey all, I, F18, recently had a particularly nasty falling out with my father, M53, and it's gotten to the point where I haven't responded to his texts in days. To be completely honest, as of now I have nothing nice I want to say to him, and I feel that I shouldn't say anything at all due to that fact. Strap in, this one may be a little long lol. For background, when I was little, about 7, my parents got divorced. My mom, F50, gained full custody, and we moved out of our family home, still living in the same town, due to high tensions between her and my father. I also understand it was a pretty nasty divorce, but she didn't have to tell me that for me to see it even at that age. She got a full-time job, but we still lived with friends for a while and she was having some trouble staying afloat as a single mother. My father helped, I definitely do not deny that, but he never came around much and it was almost always my mom and I. Due to that fact we've grown very close. My mom is probably one of the strongest people I know. About a year after their separation, my mom decided that her and I would move to a different state, a pretty decent drive, but still doable within a day. She had spent her young adult years where we currently were, in fact first meeting my dad there, but she had none of her family there to help her with me, and my dad was also working full-time. Not to mention she had gotten a well-paying job offer up in her home state that could mean she could independently support herself and I. After breaking the news to my father and making the final decision, we packed up and moved states and I wouldn't change it for the world. I have so many supportive friends and family members here that I never would have had where I was living as a young child. When the prospect of moving was brought up to my dad, he did not take it well. He claimed my mother only wanted to take me away from him, but ultimately he let her move. He wasn't around much in the first place, and when I did spend time with him I would typically come home crying due to some sort of lesson he wanted to teach me, which really just consisted of berating a 7-year-old for a whole car ride mile. When we moved, my mom made every effort she could to take me to see my father. They would meet halfway so I could see him during the holidays/over summer. My father only continued to get worse, using his time with me to back me into a corner and criticize everything I do and shit-talk my mom and I's family. I don't act ladylike enough. I eat too much. I don't exercise enough. And the real kicker, I act like my mother. He has intentionally called me by her name before during one of these incidents simply to upset me further. Many times he's looked down on my family over the years, calling them many demeaning names and assuming things about them that simply aren't true, and then he would bully me into accepting his words, into not saying anything in retaliation and just agreeing to whatever he said. He would get me in the car for the 6-hour drive to his house and I wouldn't be able to escape his words. I would say talking to him is exhausting, but that would be an understatement. After many different incidents and visit after visit with no improvements, he decided to drag my mom through court for allegedly refusing to take me to see him as ordered in their custody agreement. Turns out they had agreed that my mom could move away in that as well. He agreed to it before we even left. I had refused to visit him over summer due to the collection of happenings, one of them being that my, now, stepmother had cheated on him with me there. I do feel horrible for him in that fact. Seeing my father break down hurt my soul. Despite everything, I still love him, but it hurt even more to see him go back to her days later and resume his normal treatment of me. When he served my mom with papers, I agreed to write a statement that I read to a magistrate. It detailed all of my feelings about him, and a timeline of our relationship as well as the strain that had been on it for years. I had been put in therapy when I was young due to the fact, and we had even tried speaking to him civilly about the way he was making me feel with her, my therapist, as the mediator before this. Never worked. After reviewing both sides, the court deduced that my mom was not keeping me from my father, and did not charge her with anything. After about a year of not talking, we ended up reconciling and building a shaky relationship once more, where I began to visit for shorter periods over the summer. His insults persisted. He told me I had been lying under oath, that he had been nothing but a good father to me and that my mother is brainwashing me into thinking otherwise. I had grown up some now. I could take his insults without crying every time. I thought hearing his words was just a sacrifice I needed to make in order to have a relationship with my dad, so I let it go. It still stung. I still cried. I realize now, it just wasn't always in front of him. Unfortunately, in the last couple years my mother has been diagnosed with something similar to MS, is therefore out of work on disability, and my cancer-stricken uncle has come to live with us. It's a shitty situation overall, but to be honest I believe we have a good support system. My mom, despite occasionally asking me to help with her and my uncle, encourages me to explore my interests and further my education. She encourages me going out into the world and living independently, but she's not kicking me out, instead assuring me that she is here to support me and allowing me to stay while I save to move out as well as go to college, which I've been doing. I don't feel that our family dynamic is codependent, but my father has always claimed it to be. In our recent falling out, he said that I am doomed to follow their path. Leading up to this text we had been on the phone, he said they were all using disabilities as a crutch to cheat the system. My mom used to work 12-hour days in which I barely saw her, and my uncle is a 100% disabled veteran who was blown out of a building during a terrorist attack, and that my future is an emulation of what doesn't work, quoted word for word from his text. Not only that, when I had gotten upset over him accusing my family of such things, he proceeded to text and ask me if I was pregnant afterwards. He claimed I was showing signs and he wanted to be sure. I am not sexually active and he knows this. I haven't had a job in a couple months, but I am actively searching for one as well as going to school. The phone call had started with him getting onto me about that. I told him that I agree. I do need to get up and live my life as I do not want to just sit around all day, but I attempted to explain to him that it wasn't a laziness thing, more of a depression thing. To be fair, my family being loving doesn't make terminal illness not depressing, but I digress. He's asked me to come live with him many times before, claiming the only reasoning I gave him was that I had friends up here. I told him I have a life up here, and he responds sarcastically, "Oh, some life you have. Sitting in bed all day doing nothing, not going to work or school." Funny thing is I just finished my spring semester and I'm about to sign up for fall classes. He knows this. To be completely honest, his words hurt. A lot. Especially after I opened up to him about my mental health. On top of the depressing situation, I was recently, past 2 years, diagnosed with major depressive disorder as well as ADHD, and have since been put on meds for it. I've been having issues with my pharmacy getting the proper medication, supply issues, and I relayed that I'm also having issues with that to him. He implied that my family and I were abusing my drugs since one of them is Adderall, but I know the risks and make sure to keep it in a safe place, and make sure to only take the prescribed dosage. It was a very upsetting thing to hear, and I sobbed on the phone, to which he simply continued, his only apology being that he wants what is best for me. After getting off the phone and the text asking if I was pregnant, I firmly told him that I was not, and he went on a rant about how I'm in danger, implying my family was raising me wrong. After I didn't respond, he continued to text me, saying that it's not okay to not respond. I politely tell him that he had hurt my feelings and I needed a few days to gather my thoughts. Instead of respecting that, he goes on to tell me he was saying those things about my family to get my attention and that I stonewall him when I don't like what I've been told, that I've been doing it for my entire life. I did not respond to this, standing behind my decision to not say anything. I'm tired of him pushing everyone into getting exactly what he wants every time. I don't want to say hateful things that I don't mean, and at this time I definitely feel that I would. This angered him greatly. He went on to tell me he was done, that I have made my choice and remaining adamant that there is no way he has done anything wrong because he's not around me. He says my family is manipulating me and I am protecting them, that my mother is, and I quote, controlling, narcissistic, self-centered, and obsessive, and that she destroyed our relationship. He blames her for everything. I honestly think he has an underlying hatred for women, on top of just hating my mother, I guess, but I won't unpack all of that right now. I never, and still have not responded. He has texted me a few times since, saying once more that me not responding is unacceptable, as well as saying I'm making this into more of a situation than it needs to be. The last thing he sent me was an article on teens giving their parents the silent treatment. Now, here's where I'm asking if I would be the asshole. Crazy that we're just now getting here after my word vomit above, but thank you for sticking around this long for what it's worth. My mom and uncle say I should at least say something back, use this time to tell him how I really feel. Personally, I want to cut him off. I don't feel he deserves my sadness or my anger. I've tried to relay to him many times as to why our relationship is so strained, but he refuses to accept it. But there is that part of me, that little girl who just wants a hug from her dad and to be told that everything is going to be okay. That's holding me back. I haven't blocked his number. I can't bring myself to at the moment, and I'm really just at a loss. Does anyone have any advice? Would I be an asshole if I didn't at least give him a short response? Ida for telling my friend it was not so nice of her to give my number to her uncle. Yesterday I was at a friend's house and we were playing Todd. She asked me about my relationship because she claims she never saw me dating. Well, it's true, I have not dated for 4 years now, Dodd, and also because I don't like to share about my personal life, and also because we've not known each other for long. I told her my last relationship was when I was 18 and I ended up sleeping with a 38-year-old guy. He was my first everything, and after 1 month I came to know he was engaged, so I ended things and I moved to another country. It's been 4 years since and I have not been interested to be in a newer relationship. She asked me if I liked older guys and I said yeah, but I won't mind dating a younger guy. We moved from that topic and I thought all was good, not until today I'm woken up at 6 in the morning with a new number calling. At first I ignored it, but it kept ringing, so I answered. To my shock, the man introduced himself as my friend's uncle and that she gave him my number because apparently she showed me his picture and I was interested in him. Well, that's a lie because I never knew she even had an uncle. I told him I will call him back and that it was early and I was still in bed. Immediately I called my friend and asked her what was going on. So according to her, she was helping me find a guy, and since I said I liked older guys, she thought her uncle was the perfect match because he liked younger girls. Is 49. I told her it was not so nice of her to do that and also lie about me seeing his picture and liking him. She said she was just helping me and she was trying to be a friend. I'm not someone who likes to argue, so I ended the call. She texted me, but I have not responded to her. I'm not someone with many friends and I really liked her being my friend, but after what she did I don't even know what to do. Tomorrow I will have to face her at work. Maybe I was wrong and she was just being a caring friend. Ada for refusing to trim my mulberry tree because of my neighbor's dog. I, 32F, have a beautiful mulberry tree in my backyard that's been there for years. It's tall, but it doesn't hang over the fence or encroach on my neighbor's property. Every summer, I look forward to harvesting the delicious mulberries and enjoying them in salads, smoothies, and baked goods. However, my neighbor, 40M, has been pestering me nonstop about the tree. His issue? His dog's paws turn purple from walking through the mulberry stains on the sidewalk, and he's worried about the stains on his white carpet when the dog comes inside. At first, I try to be understanding and polite, but his constant nagging has become increasingly annoying. He's taken to waiting for me to step outside, then confronting me about the tree, berating me for being inconsiderate and selfish. I've had to become more and more firm with him, telling him that the tree is not a problem and that he needs to take responsibility for his own dog's mess. But he won't let up, and it's starting to feel like harassment. I'm tired of being bullied and guilt-tripped into cutting down a tree that's rightfully mine. Ada for standing my ground and refusing to cut down my mulberry tree, or is my neighbor being unreasonable and abusive? Ida for telling my brother to stop setting his kinks in stone. I'm 17, and my brother is 27. He took me on a guy's trip, and when we got to the place, we all got to talking about life and such, and eventually wives and marriage came up. I stayed out of it until my brother spoke up about how he wants a submissive wife that cooks and cleans, a maid you don't gotta pay. He brought up some Bible verses, but I cut him off and said, dude, stop pretending your fetishes are valid religious ideas. I explained that there's a massive culture of subs and doms, and how he could easily find a woman who enthusiastically cooks and cleans for him, even one who calls him master, but not every woman enjoys being degraded like that. I also made a point that it's harmful to taint the religions of millions of good, faithful people by enforcing your kinks on all of humanity. He called me a sarcastic asshole. Ada for giving my ex the option to not pay back child support. My ex and I are currently going through the courts over a custody arrangement. At our first court appearance, the judge stated there was room for back child support before my lawyer could even bring it up. My ex would owe me between $3,000 and $6,000. Instead of this, all I want is the car seat he bought per my request while I was pregnant and that he gets a new one. It is a name brand car seat and we got it for around $300. I do not want to share a car seat because during the time we are switching it between cars 4 times a weekend, he only gets supervised visits during the day, hence the amount of switches. He gets the chance to just be downright mean to me and say things our kids shouldn't hear. Even on the improbable low end of $3K, it would put him in a lot of debt and I don't want to do that. So Ada, for only letting him get out of back child support in exchange for the car seat, what would you do? Edit to add all the money would be used on the child. I thought that was obvious, but apparently not. Second edit. I didn't clarify this earlier. He is already ordered and pays me $712. Weird number, I know. A month, as he makes pretty decent money. Third edit. Thank you for all the replies. I'm going to talk to my lawyer about going forward with the back child support and what we will need to get it done. Then I'm going to ask my parents to loan me whatever I don't have to get the same car seat. I researched that one a lot while pregnant and feel most comfortable with her in it, and give him the old one that he wants so badly. I just try so hard to be the better person despite how mean he can be. And to those that said I shouldn't worry about his financials, you are right. I spent far too long with him banging my head against the wall trying to get him to follow a budget. I am very, very good with money and can stretch a penny incredibly far versus him who might as well be a money garbage disposal. These, asking my parents for the loan will not hurt them financially, and they have always made it very clear if I need to borrow money to come to them versus putting on a credit card and paying interest. Whipta if I told my current GF that I wouldn't be dating her if she already had kids. To preface, my current girlfriend is divorced and has been for a while prior to meeting her. That's not a problem to me. She told me she tried to get pregnant for quite some time with her ex, though were unsuccessful, miscarriages, several times, and they eventually divorced due to other reasons that aren't that. Again, unfortunate, and this was when I did not know her. She asked me about Mother's Day and my plans, and she said she was not in the best mood cause of the day. I was comforting her when she said she wished she had kids. At my current age, one of my main and likely top preferences is that my partner cannot have children from a past relationship. This is due to multiple reasons. Could this change in the future? Who knows, but that's just how I feel now. She asked me if I would date her still if she had kids, and I was able to push the subject off, but I still feel like I need to be honest. Whipta if I told her I wouldn't be with her if she already had kids. Ida for not attending my daughter's wedding. Little background, I'm a 52-year-old man and I just recently found out my youngest daughter, who is 22, is getting married. She lives in Washington and works as an elementary school teacher. She doesn't come home often as she has her own life pretty far from where we live. Recently she came home for her brother, also my son's, baby shower as he and his wife were expecting their 4th kid. I was happy to see her but was surprised when I saw a middle-aged man with her. She then told me he was her fiancé. My ex-wife and girlfriend were so happy, as were my kids and my daughter-in-law. I then found out my daughter was marrying a 42-year-old man. I was shocked and automatically did not approve. This man was only 10 years younger than me and I didn't appreciate the fact of him dating my young daughter. My family talked to him and he's a good guy. He's got his own contracting business and makes a lot of money. However, I couldn't shake the thought of this grown man taking advantage of my daughter. I was very uncomfortable, and to make it worse I found out she started dating him when she was 18. I nearly blew a gasket because all I could think was my barely legal daughter being taken advantage of by a then 38-year-old man. The next weekend she called me and asked if I'd save the date for May 25th as that's when she'd be getting married. She said her fiancé opted to pay for the immediate family's flights to Washington. I told her it wouldn't be a problem as I wouldn't be attending. She asked why and I told her I didn't feel comfortable with her marrying a man 20 years older than her. She told me she loved him and he loved her and that after they got married he told her she wouldn't have to work and he'd support her. She decided she loved working and was okay with continuing to work. He was fine with that. I told her I understood all that, but I just couldn't shake the icky feeling of my daughter practically marrying someone who could be her father. She told me she'd be heartbroken if I didn't attend because she wanted me to walk her down the aisle as she dreamed. While I felt guilty, I stuck to my guns. She hung up on me, and when I got home my girlfriend asked why I wouldn't attend the wedding and I told her my reasons. She said that wasn't good enough and that this was an important day for my daughter. My ex-wife was also angry, as was my other daughter. The only one who sided with me was my son, as he would also not be attending due to not wanting to see that, as it disgusted him for his younger sister to be marrying an older man, as well as his wife's issue with flying since she was close to having her baby. Now as I write this, my ex-wife informed me my daughter was crying her eyes out over the phone due to my son and I not attending her wedding. She said she didn't want to get married if her brother and dad weren't there, and she actually called the wedding off. After months of planning her dream wedding, she and her fiancé decided to elope instead, then take their honeymoon to Switzerland. I feel terrible as I know my daughter has been so excited about the wedding she planned. So, am I the asshole? Ida, no Mother's Day gift for child stepmom. I 34F, husband 35M, wondering if we're being too harsh for Mother's Day. We've been together over 3 years, married, 1M together. We have 6M, he shares 50-50 custody, and 2 for my previous, I have full custody. This is regarding the 6M's bio mother. Ever since he was 3, he's determined I was mom and bio was mommy. He didn't see mommy but 1x/WK for about a year, as she came back into his life, and courts allowed her to take back up to 50% custody, and that's how it was finalized. I've been more than civil toward her in person. We do not bad-mouth her in front of kids. But this woman has issues, to say the least. She has told 6M he can't do 20 while with us, to a point he'll break down in car on way to school, 'cause mommy said he can't go with me. She makes him call me by my initials, not even stepmom. She constantly interrogates him during her time about what he did while with us. I can get into detail if there's questions. She's uncouth, curt, and entirely obnoxious. Teachers in daycare avoid her like the plague, to a point they tried to start drama with us. My husband and I usually giggle affirmingly, but say something along the lines of, "That's how she is." "Oh well," and cut it off. I've gone out of my way. Even last year, I had 6M draw a picture and had it transposed/engraved onto a necklace. This year, my husband took 6M and picked out nice gift for me and flowers. 6M goes to mommy at 10 a.m., empty-handed. I cannot keep up with her shenanigans and feel she deserves nothing. Is this too harsh? We'll pull some roses from the rose bush or something so not entirely empty-handed. But she'll interrogate 6M and find out I got special gifts this year while we did nothing for her. Note, we didn't exclude her if 6M wanted to get her something, 'cause we aren't going to toy with his emotions like that. But she's also stolen holidays from us. He celebrated them early on herdsies. And 6M has come home for 20 holiday and been adamant that the holiday already passed and we're pretending. All her words she's forced onto him. So I'm thinking if she's that mad about it, she can do another pretend Mother's Day for herself. Plus, we owe her nothing. I dunno. Having second thoughts, before we send 6M over to mommy. Edit. 6M didn't want to make a card. He just wanted us to get flowers from our bush. So we did that. He was excited to give her. She just goes, "Oh, thanks. Getting car you have to change for church." Then she complained that my husband took too long to confirm pickup time. It's in the parenting plan, no confirmation required. But 6M did want to show mommy the necklace he got me, which I only feel bad about 'cause I worry she's going to make 6M feel bad about it.